Hi there. It's your second favorite DP right here, okay? No, that's Deadpool, you silly little Hufflepuff. Anyways, I'm gonna need you to shut up that pretty little mouth of yours and pay attention because the show's about to start, alright? And, I don't know about you, but I know who's my vote for sexiest ex-soldier turned pop culture show host. Alright, enough foreplay. Let's get on with the show.
Every week's an epic feat. They shed light on what's the trend. When will the madness ever end? From movies to the latest shows, you never know how far they'll go. Come aboard and take the ride. Let's uncover what's inside. Warriors of the night, here to fight. Pop culture explosions in the spotlight. Tune in for laughter and some cheer.
Hey everybody, welcome. It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. This is episode 250. The bicentennially? I don't know the words. Bicentennial? No, that's not right. It's episode 250 of Pop Culture Warrior, the show where I stay up to date on all the ins and outs of what's happening in pop culture so you don't have to. I am your host, CQ, and I would be remiss if I didn't introduce our stellar co-host for the evening, the one, the only, Mr. Mad Mike, everybody! That was the most energy I've ever seen come out of Mad Mike.
Yeah, now I need a nap.
It's like, I'm so tired. Welcome, everybody. First and foremost, stay tuned. Hour 2 of this episode is my incredible, amazing, stupendous, superior, awesome, astonishing, badass, awesome interview with Jon Bolerjack, who is the visionary, the filmmaker behind the documentary Stan Lee, The Last Chapter, or the Final Chapter. Shit, I always say the last chapter. Final Chapter. Stan Lee, The Final Chapter. It's an incredible documentary. Both myself and Mad Mike have watched it. We've cried. It's beautiful. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's all
So
the things.
sad.
It's so sad. But it's an incredible interview. It was pre-recorded just due to scheduling. So I can say without a shadow of a doubt, it is a phenomenal interview. And in fact, we went a bit long because we were just having such a good conversation. And we were really diving.
You were telling him about all the times that you met Stanley.
That I personally abused Stanley.
We kind of knew him about the same amount of time.
I told about all the times I took advantage of Stanley in public and in private. And we bonded over that. He's like, I remember you
buying 150 comic books. His hand was bleeding.
You had that exclusive Black Diamond VIP status. You got the extra. I got to take one of his fingers. It was amazing.
For the end of that interview where you're like, "Did I have to about the time I met Stanley?"
Let me tell you about Stanley. Seems like a nice guy. Anyway, I should have made him do the Stanley Tucci joke. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that's a missed opportunity. I should have made him do it. Anyway, stay tuned for that. It is a phenomenal interview.
Where's that out? Is that coming out? Or you talk about it?
It's out. It came out July 26th, 28th. So it just recently came out. And
on Hulu or something.
It's everywhere you can download and watch things. It's on all the streaming apps or the major platforms and things. So tune in, check it out. Outside of that, oh boy, howdy. I went to see Spider-Man again. I loved it so much. I went and saw it again. I'm sorry. I just real quick, because I feel like we talked about it the last 2 weeks. I heard a not a theory, but someone that they're like, hey, it was a great movie, but there was one change that could have made it the best movie ever. And I heard their take on it, and I kind of agree. So, movie exactly as it is, except during, the early montage when he shows him fighting a bunch of, random, villains and things, throw in the Lizard, Doc Connors, the Lizard in there, right? Little, scene of him just zipping him up, whipping him up, whatever. Then later in the film, as he's introduced to damage control and we're seeing them recycle, the hand and the shocker gauntlets and all the other stuff, Doc Connors is shown working for them, in which he is developing a mutagen repressant device. Basically, take Hulk out of the movie and replace it with Doc Connors and the Lizard.
Yeah, which they could have done. I mean, they could have done.
They could have done. And now, because what you end up doing is you've replaced the exact same transformation and the idea and the blocking and the mutation and all that. It's all the same wheelhouse. Stays more Spider-Man. And then also, when the Punisher shows up, it's like, the Punisher ain't fighting the Hulk. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, he's just
Yeah, the
not.
lizard I feel like would have been better.
It would be a more of a fair fight. It was still definitely tipped in the Lizard's favor, but more of a fair fight, especially with Spider-Man being there. The Hulk there's I don't care how tough Frank Castle is. You take one look at the Hulk, you're like, nope, I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
retired.
Shouldn't even be in the building. Even Spider-Man, it's like, not really a Hulk fighting. Like,
Yeah.
the best one would be Wolverine, but anyways,
Yeah.
that's a whole comic
That's
series.
a separate conversation. But yeah, so I was like, man, that would have been really cool to see. Like that would have been a great way to use. And I know they did Hulk because that's kind of how they can't make Hulk movies. So the best thing they can do is just string Mark Ruffalo along in a bunch of different series and
Well, they have him under
movies.
contract, and he does
Yeah.
anything for $1. So.
Oh God,
It's like the Nicholas doesn't turn down anything. Does he own like 50 houses like Nicolas Cage?
So yeah, so I heard that and I went, man, that would have been dope. And they said in the finals, not to spoil anything, but there's like they're in the prison thing at the end where he's fighting the Hand. They're like, replace that with Jean Grey uses her psychic ability to like open all the vaults, and now you bring back the Shocker, you bring back Scorpion, you bring back Lizard, and basically they all come after him, being released from their prison cells. I'm like, oh, that would have been a badass.
And then you bring in Vulture to save him.
Something. So it's like a little mini Sinister Six, thing, and I'm like, that would have been dope. That as much as like
such a missed opportunity.
Yeah, the Hand fight was pretty cool, and I love
the Hand is like so overdone.
Yeah.
It's like a blind guy beat him. Like how hard are they to beat? Like
a blind lawyer from Hell's Kitchen beat them.
Right.
Yeah. So
well, actually, no, it was all the Defenders, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was when they had all of them together. But yeah.
anyways.
So yeah, I heard that and I was like, oh man, I felt it was a really good movie, but that could have elevated.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't have Angry Hulk. You ever wonder how Ed Norton feels like about turning down like all this money?
I'm
the
sure
guy's
Ed
like
Norton's
doing like plays
fine.
now and shit. I'm an actor's actor.
Came out with a movie with what's his name, Seth Rogen. He was just in a movie with Seth Rogen and Olivia Wilde.
That's
and
where
Salma
he has
Hayek.
to go now. It's like, man, I was up here. And then now I'm down here because I got to do Seth Rogen movies. That's eating him alive. He was all like, "I'm an actor's actor," and then he's got to do dick jokes.
I was in what was it? What was the American X or whatever it was?
Yeah.
What was the
American History X? I was in
American History X, and I'm doing stoner comedies with Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I'm talking about dudes' buttholes. It's like being on our show. Fucking talking about dudes' buttholes. Like, what? You were the Hulk, man. You could have had that money truck.
You could have been a contender. Yeah. Anyway.
He did a good job, but
yeah.
So
we were talking about oh, what is there to watch? It's that weird transitional time of the season where we're like wrapping up summer and about to kick off fall or spring, technically. Fall. I don't know where we are. Where we are.
Fall. It's like got a month of summer and then fall.
I mean, okay, you're in Florida. You have like 8 more months of summer before you get
we have 10 months of summer and then 2 months of winter.
Yes.
Not really
not
winter,
even winter. It's like a
a
warm fall. A warm fall.
A sweater with my shorts.
So no. Well, like I know my kid goes back to school next week, and I know your kids probably went to school this week. So it's that weird transitional period because like you have summer programming as far as movies and shows, they're kind of winding down. And then you have like the fall kicks up, obviously football is a big thing, but also a lot of TV shows and movies starts to come out in the fall.
Never heard of it. What's this football?
And Niffle? I've never heard of Niffle. But some things worth watching in August. These are just my personal list. I've got Lanterns comes out in like 6 or 7 more days. That's the DC Green Lantern show. which I think is going to be I don't want to say a sleeper hit because it's like one of the biggest things DC's releasing, but I think it's going to be better than most people think it will be. That's just
Yeah,
personal.
that guy, the guy that plays Hal Jordan,
Yeah.
he's a pretty good actor.
Good actor, really good actor.
He's been in things. I mean,
He's
gets
been in
around.
stuff. He's been in stuff. I've seen
Like-
him. I've seen him before. I've seen him
Dragon
around.
Island.
We travel in similar circles.
Yeah.
I've seen him around. My people talk to his people. We got Ted Lasso. Just the first episode, I think, aired of the new season,
Still on,
season 4.
Season 2, episode 2 of that show.
You're so close to catching up.
When the new season comes out, I'm like, oh yeah, I was watching that show.
You would like it. Of all people, I think you would
I
like
loved it. Yeah, I was watching it when I was coaching something.
I think the thing about Ted Lasso as a show, I think it would just irritate you how relentlessly positive he is. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like
it is
that would eat you away.
I like the other guy, the assistant coach, because he's
Coach.
like more negative.
You like Coach Beard. Reacher just dropped its first episode of season 4. It's out.
Beating, his neighbors. Is that what?
Yes, he's beating up random people on the street. X-Men 97 season 2 of the animated series. Its final episode is this week. King of the Hill, the second season of the reboot.
Holy
Not
shit!
reboot.
I watch like shit. Excuse me. When I wake up here, I only watched 2 episodes of that, and then I was like, it started to make me really sleepy.
King of the
I
Hill.
remember why I don't really watch this shit. It's a little too slow.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, can we speed it up here? I don't live in Georgia, man.
Let's see other things. Lioness is coming back. That's the Zoe Saldana show.
She said, she's been working out or whatever, so that way she fits the role more. I guess people were complaining.
I mean,
it's fictional completely. Like, there's no fucking female spec ops. So,
that's a fair point. Futurama has another season coming out. Star Wars Visions
Jesus
presents the Ninth Jedi. What else?
a cartoon, right?
Yes. There was
The Grogu movie came out, I think, premiered finally. Like, I think it was last week.
that garbage.
Hot piece of shit. Hot piece of shit.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is going to have like its 37th, 100th season starting.
That's great.
What else? Looking through, there's like a whole list. There's a bunch of shit that nobody cares
Silo's
about.
on. I've been watching Silo. I'm actually on
Silo?
season 3 now.
Whoa!
Season
Look
3,
at you, only a season behind.
I'm like, you gotta calm this down. I might have to wait like for the
Slow
episodes
down.
to drop, which I
Slow
hate.
down, homie. Slow down. And then the movie Coyote
Dragon
versus
Show, I think,
Acme
just
comes
ended.
out.
I didn't
Yeah.
watch it. I'm still on
Yep.
season 2 of that, I think.
Yep. So there's some things. I don't know if there's something
Sure.
out there you guys recommend watching. Let me know. I'm looking for more things to watch. I got to get back into my binging habit. I've been
You
so
fucking
busy.
blew by High School Musical 3 or 4?
Three was like 20 years ago.
4?
I don't know.
4? I
7.
don't know my kids know.
8,
It's coming out on Friday
9.
anyway. If you want the High School Musicals, minus Demi Lovato,
He's such a weird.
or is it High
Weird
School? Not
person.
High School Musical. Camp Rock. The Jonas Brothers one, whatever the fuck.
I don't know,
Camp
man.
Rock.
This is the
Camp
problem
Rock.
of being a girl dad. You know this shit. That's the problem. That's the
excited.
problem.
I like me some Jonas Brothers.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Mm.
In addition,
Like a fine wine.
Wizards Beyond Waverly Place is coming out. So I'm sure that's
Yeah,
something
another
that's
season.
high. on
Did you
your-
see all the drama with that? The younger kid said he wanted to be in the show, and then it turned out they fucking just totally wrote him off. They were like the second main person behind the lady. He was on some podcast, and he's like, "Yeah, we reached out to him, and he's too busy. He's got a lot going on." And then he wrote on like Twitter or something like, "I don't have shit going on. I'm broke as fuck, and I told him I would do it, and they never reached out."
I'll do it for $5 and a snack. We so need your segment of, Mad Mike badly explains, or whatever it is we were gonna call it, because you literally just went. It was he had the thing, and he was the guy behind the girl in the other.
Everyone knows what I'm
No,
talking about.
no descriptors
It's like the
whatsoever.
brother and the sister, the two main fucking people. They were the ones up for the Wizard Championship, and then the little kid that's dumb. He was the comedic relief.
That
And they wrote him off.
describes
They said he
nothing.
franchised out his sub shop and made a bunch of monies on his yacht. Which I'm like, nobody making subs has a yacht.
Nobody
Like,
has. Nobody has.
they're usually all
sub-making
in
yacht
jail
money.
for being pedophiles. Just saying.
Yeah, how'd you get your yacht? You know that I got that sub money. I
Yeah.
got that cold cut cash. Why is it so funny to me? Cold cut cash.
That's pretty good. I didn't get that right.
That's
Third
cold
time I
cut
caught it.
cash. All right.
Speaking of yachts, did you see that ship was sinking in Alaska and they were like radioing Mark Zuckerberg's thing and they were like, nah, we didn't hear him.
I have
It was like
no
a
idea
small
what you're
boat
talking about.
crashed in Alaska off the coast of Alaska and the only boat around was Zuckerberg. It's like super yacht. And they're like, man, we don't got time for that. They're like,
Do
no,
you
we
think
didn't have the
space?
radio on. We were too busy blasting yawning. Yacht rock.
Yeah.
It's a yacht. We blast yacht rock. We don't listen to fucking SOS calls. Like, don't be poor. Buy a fucking bigger boat.
Yeah. Guess what Mad Mike is talking about. Yeah, that's what the segment name should be called.
Yeah.
All right. There's a news story an article I was just reading, and I found it fascinating. And I don't care if anybody else finds it fascinating. We're going to talk about it because it's fascinating to me. San Diego Comic-Con, very known. Even people outside of the pop culture sphere know about San Diego Comic-Con. When you think of San Diego Comic-Con, a lot of things come to mind, but I'm sure one of them is very much the iconic, like, the whole area is transformed, right? Like the street signs, the hotels are wrapped in the basically giant billboards, right? Like that's an iconic piece of San Diego Comic-Con culture is they transform buildings into activations, and then they take over restaurants and they take over clubs and they wrap the building and they put posters everywhere. This is a long time staple of Comic-Con. What I didn't realize until I was reading this article is 9 times out of 10, the stuff you see hasn't been approved by the city of San Diego. So, like, when they wrap the hotel, like for us while we were there, there was like the American Horror Story had wrapped the Bayfront, Hilton Bayfront, and then like Petco Park was wrapped in like the Rookie, and then there was like an Abbott Elementary one, and there's like a bunch of these wrapped, like giant plastered on the side of the wall. These companies have figured out that instead of going through the process to get approvals and paying and doing all these things, they could just put it up and the city of San Diego will just fine them. Anywhere from $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for however disruptive it was. And for them, they're like, fuck it, we'll just take the fine. And like apparently just everyone's on board with this. Like, it's not like the city tries to stop them. I mean, this gets built up in a matter of days. Like, this gets put up in like 2 or 3 days. But you would think if the city really wanted to stop it, they would put up cops and they would stop it. They don't care. They're going to get their money. Everyone's going to get their San Diego Comic-Con experience. Everybody's happy. Now, why did this come to my attention if this is some like unwritten rule since, forever? So here's the story. Marvel Studios. So when you've got all the hotels, and then you have what's called the Gaslamp Quarter. It's kind of the stretch of road that goes out of San Diego Comic-Con into the area. There's a very famous arch called like the Gaslamp Arch or whatever. Marvel Studios decided they were going to take it over this year. There's plenty of pictures online of it. And it's the finest cheaper than the cost. Yeah. they wrapped it in like Avengers Doomsday kind of like paraphernalia, like put A's on it, and it's got like this crystalline structure, like a cathedral style structure, and whatever. So apparently, Marvel Studios has been hit with a $160,000 penalty for their Avengers Doomsday, which is probably the smallest thing that was up in front of say, like everything else covered buildings and they wrapped trains. It was crazy. It's crazy. It's everywhere. But here's why. It says here that officials said they were concerned that the temporary structure could create a safety hazard and interfere with the crowds that were moving through the downtown during the convention time. The quote is, and this is from a San Diego spokesperson, the contractor knowingly created a safety risk and refused to address it, and that it was cited and fined accordingly. So the city initially hit the advertiser, Marvel, with a $10,000 fine before Comic-Con even began. Like they hit him with a $10,000 fine up front. The penalties then climbed each day the display remained. So that was another $10,000. And then they added $10,000 for every day that it was up. So the Tuesday was $10,000. The Wednesday was then $20,000. The Thursday, $30,000. The Friday, $40,000. The Saturday, $50,000. And then, so over the course of the weekend, the one sign that was literally just an A, some like glass kind of, like I said, cathedral kind of style glass window thing, and the wraps around the poles, cost them $160,000 in fines. It is mind-boggling to me. It says city officials were particularly worried that this part of the temporary installation could come loose and injure someone. The city wants Comic-Con to be a fun, safe place for attendees, has a responsibility to ensure temporary additions to the public. So here's the thing. They didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, until after
they just fined
they have a
Marvel.
good story for the fine, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like you guys are just greedy as fuck. And you think really like Disney's gonna let them put up something that hurts people? No, they ain't Universal. It ain't fucking Warner Brothers.
Sony. It ain't Sony.
They're
not gonna put out something that hurts people.
That shit's probably more stable than most of the fucking buildings down there. Like California's just so fucking crooked.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But it blows my mind that they're like, listen, the safety and security is of paramount. They didn't do anything about it.
Hobos shooting up fentanyl like a block away. Like, shut the fuck up. What do you care about safety? Like, you're fucking taking a bus over and someone injects you with fentanyl or fucking AIDS or something. You get stabbed.
Yeah. So it says San Diego also issued $48,000 in fines this year over advertisements wrapped around hotels and other downtown buildings, which was more than twice last year's total. The biggest fine outside of the Avengers stunt was $7,000 for a building that was housing Lou and Mickey's and the Hilton San Diego Gaslamp Quarter. So it was the Walking Dead's Dead City poster wrap, and then Yaga, which is the new Carrie Ann Moss show. Their wrap, which was funny enough, right next to the Avengers logo, that would only cost them $7,000. $7,000. They probably paid more to have it made and put up than the fine it is for having it up. But again, what a not fair. You're charging AMC
because they know who has money. They are like, this movie's gonna make $5 billion.
That's how much it's gonna make at one theater when it comes out. It's gonna make
I'm sure their advertising budget's like $50 million or something. So they're like, whatever. They'll pay it.
That blows my mind.
You know what? I did just fucking tell them, fuck you. Like, what are they gonna do? Don't they have a whole team of lawyers? Like, make your lawyers do something. Like, tell them, fuck you, we ain't paying. What are you going to do about it? And see what the fuck they do.
Yeah. Marvel has that FU money. Yeah, they
Yeah,
do. They do.
exactly. But like,
They
fuck
do.
you. We're not coming back. We'll just do D23. Like, eat a dick. What are you guys gonna do then?
Yeah. Yeah, we pull out. Like, drop the fine or we pull out. And now you lose 50% of the racing
We'll
people
do
coming.
fucking, it'll be FloridaCon or whatever the fuck.
We'll do what your mama should have did and pull out. Oh,
Yeah, got him. That's the lawyer. We guys represented by Mad Mike and CQ.
my cousin Vinny. Listen here, Your Honor. My client said you can go fuck yourself.
This business card says Matt Murda.
He's a blind lawyer. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know. That blew my mind. That like they have the balls to go after Marvel and Disney by extension for $168,000.
They made your state. Like
They
same thing
made
with
it.
Orlando. Like you just gotta bow down and
Kiss
if
the
they
ring.
want you to, you just gotta rub them off once in a while.
You gotta kiss the ring. You gotta kiss the ring. So in other news, came out earlier this week, which I'm not really sure how I feel about this one. I still haven't processed the grief or the loss. Squid Game, which is arguably one of the biggest, most popular things that ever came out of Korea.
I'll pass.
After season 2, they announced they were going to make they announced like 20 spinoffs. Like, it was crazy. They were going to do a bunch of spinoffs.
They did like a game show, all this stupid shit.
They did a bunch of stuff. Then they also said they're going to do like a prequel series about how it started. And one of the spinoffs that they announced was the English language Squid Games that takes place in America. Apparently,
not commies here. It's a reality show. They're just filming what goes on in North Korea there.
Apparently, as per sources from Screen Rank, or the playlist.net is the source. The English language Squid Game series is reportedly no longer happening at Netflix. So if you're a Squid Game fan and you were looking forward to an English speaking version filmed here in America, which at the end of season 2, you see Kate Blanchett in like there's the guy, the boss, whatever's driving through like the city, and you see Kate Blanchett like slapping people. And Squid Games has faded out. Yes, it has.
She's a great actress, but she also does anything they ask her to do. Got a lot of bills to pay.
That's your official response on a lot of things. They all do it for the money. Yeah, no kidding. They're actors. They're paid to act. That's their job.
Because you know what? The ones that don't do it for the money, you got to go watch a play or some shit that nobody cares to watch. It's a long, boring ass fucking movie.
Yes, pretty much.
I can't watch that. Like, weird thing. I could do kung fu movies, but I can't do. I don't know. I couldn't watch it. It bugs me when it's like they're like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and their like lips are still moving, and I'm like, holy fuck, dude! Can we draw it out? Like, can you elaborate to at least match it up? Like,
oh my!
They gotta say 7 words to our 1 word. It's like drives me fucking nuts.
So your whole thing against dubbed movies or subtitled movies is just the fact that the timing between talking and the lips moving is off. That is your big problem.
You have a surround sound and it's not like synced up right, and then it like slightly off. What the fuck? I can't watch shit like that. It's weird because I had to watch TV with the subtitles on too. Well, it all started with that was it the Irish show where they were like gangsters?
Peaky Blinders?
Yeah, that one. Man, fucking nailed it, man.
The
guy from Batman was in it. Scarecrow was in it.
It's the movie with the
Irish Scarecrow.
Irish Scarecrow.
Started with that because I was like watching it, and my wife was like, "What did they say?" And I said what I thought they said. And she's like, "Really?"
They said they'd love to.
And she's like, "Turn on the subtitles," and I was like, "Holy fuck!" I watched like 3 episodes, and I totally had a completely different fucking story going on.
It's like I was watching
really
a whole different
happening.
show.
It totally is. Should have made my version
Ah,
too.
God bless it. God bless it.
Anyways, I'm fucking deaf as shit too, and I never wear my hearing aids. It's part of the problem. Plus, I don't do accents whatsoever. Like, hard time understanding your wife.
I wonder if no, I don't wonder actually. I think you are when most people in the world imagine Americans, I think you are what they come up with.
Probably.
I think it's just a white dude who barely speaks English, uh, and doesn't do accents, doesn't do racist, doesn't just angry all the time, likes guns and fishing, and wants to see stuff blow up. I really do feel like you are the world's version of an American, and I don't know how I feel about that.
No, it's a cool fucking thing that everyone should go to. In Poland, they do a day every year, this town where they dress up like Americans. It's fucking the best. It's on like Instagram or something, one of the internets. You can look it up. It's fucking awesome. See them walk around like cut off jeans and fucking they're drinking Bud Light, which probably costs like $10 a can over there. They all got like all the women have like crop tops and they're fucking smoking cigarettes and shit, and they like they'll cut their hair like mullets and shit. I was like, this is the fucking best shit ever. Like, I feel like just going there and just blending in. Like, you're the best. This is the best costume ever. I'm like, nah, from there. Kind of a big
What you
deal.
do is you go there and dress like them on that day. I'm a Polish. What is it? I'm a
Socks with
Poland man.
sandals. Socks with
my
sandals.
my clogs, and my pigtails. Oh, look at me! I'm from
Oh,
Poland. Like I make windmills and clogs. Anyway,
it's Holland. You got him
I don't
way
know.
off.
I don't know. I'm lost. Anubis says Mad Mike is the American dream. Ugh.
That's
Ugh.
right.
That's
Welcome.
gross. In other news, which again,
What does that sign say behind you? It should drive me nuts. You gotta move it. Okay.
Double Time Sports Drink, our drink sponsor here at WTF Nation Radio. Double Time drink.
Yeah. We're not going into what I
Sports
thought it said,
drink.
but anyway. I'm like, man, what the
That's
fuck is that
that's a
sign?
different
I see
sign.
like
That's a
E and then E and M, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's like so distracting. That's all I can think about this whole time. I'm like, what does that shit
what does
say?
it say? So in unnecessary crossover news, because everything has to cross over with everything now. That's just like the law of the land. Marvel has announced it's doing its first ever crossover with Star Wars. The Marvel stuff.
Yeah, that's a comic book, right?
How?
It's stupid.
How?
It shouldn't happen, and it's like you're gonna make up some dumb shit, and it's like,
I
nah.
don't like. It's one thing when you go, okay, we're gonna cross over with DC, and you're like, all right, we're stretching the
We got
realms
it, yeah,
of
but
real.
it works.
But we're both superheroes. We're both comic. Star Wars. How? What?
They're mutants. The Force is really like it's
a mutant
detecting the
power.
mutant genes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's radiation. The Hulk. We realized the Hulk this whole time was emitting
Midichlorians?
mutant radiation.
He was.
And then that's why they have the Force, but it's really like a fucking radiation poisoning disorder. And they think they're controlling shit, but they're not. They're all just fucking lunatics. And then they created their own fucking lights, fucking swords. They're like the trailer park trash of the fucking universe.
And to take it even a step further, not only is Marvel crossing over with Star Wars,
great. What do they got, Mando?
It's being written by writer, director, / actor Kevin Smith is
God.
writing the Marvel Star Wars crossover.
So what are we gonna get? One in the comic, and then 10 years later we're gonna get the second one.
Yes.
He's still gotta finish the fucking Batman series he started
From like 1997, yes. Or the
Yeah.
Daredevil series he did, or the Green Arrow series he did.
He's
Yeah.
like the me if I was a writer. That like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot I was fucking writing this shit. Fuck.
It's like, I wish I could write for Batman. Bitch, you're in the middle of a Batman run.
You were still waiting on it.
Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs.
Side effects
Yes.
of smoking weed every day.
The confirmation of Star Wars crossover Marvel Hope Assembles, the 5-part monthly series, which was revealed earlier by Entertainment Weekly, will feature a proper story mixing iconic groups like the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four with the more familiar and famous characters and factions of Star Wars for the first time ever. Launching January of 2027, written by iconic writer, director, actor Kevin Smith, illustrated by David Marquez, the series is confirmed to bring the characters of Star Wars to Earth 616, bringing heroes and villains alike from both universes to intermingle as the project commemorates 50 years since the original Star Wars film released in 1977, almost certainly concluding on the month marking its anniversary. And how does this happen? Well, Marvel and Star Wars collide due to a reality-shattering spell. I feel like there's only 3 ever reasons for crossovers, and one is like, you know, a hole in the space-time continuum, a reality-altering spell, or, I mean, what's the other one? Fucking some type of simulation.
Yeah, or they're in a coma or something. It was all
Exactly.
dreams.
So it says here, featuring a cast of classic Marvel characters intermingling with the Lucasfilm legend themselves, Star Wars Marvel Hope Assembles will bring the events of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, to Earth 616. With the worlds colliding being attributed to a reality-shattering spell, it's reasonable to assume one of Marvel's magic-wielding icons were responsible for this particularly glorious blunder, with a truly special spectacle bringing the two properties together unlike any story before.
Oh, so it's like the worst of the Star Wars movies too. Oh god. You're not getting the good characters. That's Rey and
Jar Jar, obviously. You're not gonna get Jar Jar. You're not gonna get all the best characters.
There's no pod racing. You got the girl lady, fucking guy that was Moonlight, and the black English guy that we've never seen again.
Oh,
we haven't seen Rey in anything either, too. So.
Oh god, yeah.
Remember when you used to be in Star Wars and you had a successful career after that?
Let's see.
Is he in Dune now? That Moon Knight guy, he's in Dune, right?
I think so. Oscar Isaac. Yeah, I think so.
I don't know his fucking name.
Oscar Isaac. That's the guy who played Moon Knight.
Guy's got 2 first names. Already don't like him.
Not Moonlight. Moon Knight.
No, it's Moonlight. It's the fucking PG version. Anyways,
yeah,
it's. I wish my problem is I liked when comics didn't have to follow like TV shows or movies. You notice that now? It's like every time a movie comes out, the comics all of a sudden are tailored to that movie's universe. It's like, no, just fucking write original fucking stories like you used to that were good, and if they're good enough, they'll maybe use parts of it for your fucking movie.
Yeah.
But it's like, now we're doing Doom, and now all the comics are fucking Doom. And it's like, shut the fuck up, man.
This is exactly it. The comic stories, the source material, should and would lead into shows and movies adapting those stories. But what happened was you had certain people, and this is like perfect example is when Sam Raimi did Spider-Man. Well, he's like, well, I'm not going to explain how this kid made mechanical web shooters, so I'm just going to make him organically shoot webs, which was a huge, if you forget, that was like a big deal because it had never, in the comics, it never happened that way. I mean, the closest thing was Venom shot organic, but it was because it was part of the symbiote, not came out of him. Uh, and because of the success of the movies, they're like, oh shit, I got an idea. Let's change the canon in the comics to match what this one off at the time movie is doing, which is insane. It is insane to think we are going to change, at that time, 60 years of Marvel lore because of this single movie that came out. And we're
And
going
it's
to match
one
that.
tiny part of the movie. And there's like at that time point in time, there was like 6 different runs of fucking Spider-Man. You're
Yeah.
like Web of Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Like it's
Yep.
like holy fuck, how do you keep track of which one is which?
Yeah. And so they suddenly made, Peter Parker went through a transformation and they suddenly made him able
He's a
to shoot.
tranny. He would become a lady.
He identified as a man spider and not a Spider Man anymore. And so, yeah, then he could shoot organic webs, and yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird when,
Which is
like,
fine, but it's like you could just alter like either you do like a movie tailored one or just pick one of the like oh we're gonna do it in Amazing Spider-Man or Web of Spider-Man, or
I don't know. I don't know. Um, it just, yeah, it's a weird, icky feeling when you're like it should flow this way, but it's flowing this way.
yeah.
It's like when you see your toilet start to back up and you're like, oh no, the shit's coming out. It's supposed to go down, but it's coming up. That is an apt description for when comics take off the movies.
But it's also the other thing is like not people aren't reading this whatever, like however many people saw Spider-Man, like 500 fucking million people. Like maybe 5% of those people or less actually read the comic books. It's not like people are watching it and like, let me go fucking read the comic books. They're not doing that. The people that read the comic books have been reading them.
Yep.
So you're not like building up or getting new readers or
Yeah,
nothing.
and I think that was the whole point, was that they're like, well, if we change it, maybe because we're not gonna lose the people that already read our comics, but maybe if we change it, we'll bring some people to comics. They're like,
I
no,
fucking stop reading because I
you
don't
just
care. Like,
you'll piss off the people that read them, and you'll lose
yeah.
more than you'll gain. Yeah,
I'd switch to the independents. I read the weird shit because it's like I like original fucking story. And you're gonna run out of shit. All your movies are tailored to these fucking runs. I mean, there's limited runs, but they were like a year or a couple month runs, like Secret Wars, fucking Civil War. All those were big, epic fucking things, and you don't have that shit anymore because you're tying everything into the fucking movies, which nobody's paying attention to.
yeah, yep. The cinematic version of Iron Man changed significantly from his original Marvel comics. But yeah, I mean, like in the comics, Tony Stark was a very, very much a certain way. And then with the success of Iron Man in theaters and the way Tony Stark was portrayed by Robert Downey Jr., they retroactively changed a lot of the qualities of the Iron Man in the comic books.
They even
I
went
mean,
as far as to draw it like fucking Robert Downey
he
Jr.
looks more
Which
like
I
him.
mean, he
Yeah.
was like the perfect fucking guy, and the way he acted was like how like I always pictured him in the comics.
Yeah.
So, but it's like
Yeah.
you don't need to like redo it to like look like him. I know you're paying him a lot of money, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Same
anyway,
thing with Nick Fury. They've made him look just like Samuel Jackson, and it's like,
well, yeah. Well, that was the running joke, was that when Marvel launched the Ultimates universe, because again, Nick Fury was a white character for 60 something years. They launched the
everyone was white
everyone was
except for like Falcon, and I think they had like the Indian dude or whatever. Like,
and so when the Ultimates came out, which was the alternate universe Avengers, they called them the Ultimates. They drew Nick Fury to be a black dude, and he looks exactly like Sam
it
Jackson.
was like, and it was before they knew he was gonna be like, it
before
looked just
the
fucking
movies.
like him.
But if you read Ultimates I think it's like number 1 or number 2, there's a scene where Tony Stark and the Avengers are all sitting around and they're talking about like, oh, who would play them in a movie? And they were all joking about who would play who. And Nick Fury walks in and they're like, hey, what about you, Nick? And he's like, it's obvious. There's only one motherfucker that can play me, Samuel L. Jackson. And so, and then it was shortly after that it ended up being announced that Sam Jackson would be playing Nick Fury in the MCU. So, you know, it was
funny. But he was bigger in the comic though too. He was a kind of a bigger dude. Samuel Jackson's kind of skinny or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the white Nick Fury looked more like David Hasselhoff. He was like a chiseled jaw and But anyway.
Well, he was in shape too. They're all in shape in the comics. So
yeah. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I just noticed that because I was at Universal like a week or two ago, and then I was like looking at the comics. I was like, "Fuck's sake, man! They're still doing it with just the movie shit."
White Shadow Following, nice name on YouTube. I feel like superhero movies are the most recycled in Hollywood. Every few years, a new version. Yeah. I mean, how could you
for certain characters?
For certain characters.
It's the ones that aren't successful, like your Supermans, your Batmans,
the tentpole franchises. So your X-Men got multiples, your Batmans, your Supermans, your Spider-Mans.
Marvel hasn't recycled shit, so
I mean, it depends.
They're recycling it because they bought it and they want to make it right.
Right. Yeah, you're talking about Marvel as Marvel Studios, not Marvel as the Marvel brand, because Marvel as the Marvel brand has rebooted X-Men, but that was owned by Sony.
That was when they were owned by Sony, which is like, we need to make this, we need this paper player. Let's make these fucking movies. We paid all this money. Let's make these fucking movies.
Gotta make moves. Well, apparently, and this is something that's so asinine, but apparently when you buy the movie rights to some IP, if you don't make something, and there's a certain amount of time, and there's like 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, something like that. If you don't make something in that amount of time, the IP returns back to the original owner. And so that's the difference between like buying an IP and like licensing an IP. So the issue with, Sony and Spider-Man is that that's why they kept making movies. And then when it would do badly, they would just reboot it every few years. And then that would have a couple sequels, and then that got and then they rebooted it again. So same thing with the X-Men's and all that. But then Disney, which owns Marvel, bought Fox, which is how they brought back all of those like Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four, X-Men, all that stuff falls back into
Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's crazy that they had to buy an entire brand to just get their characters back. Like when you really break it down, they didn't just buy their characters. Like they bought Fox News and like Fox 20th
Which
Century
that was
Pictures.
funny because they were like, oh, we don't, because they have ABC or whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't want it. And they're like, no, you got to take it. And they're like, we have enough news networks. And they're like, fuck it, we'll take it. Like, actually, I think they didn't take it. I think
no, it's one of the few things they kept Fox News as like a separate entity.
So, because they're like, we got enough. We got like fucking 5 news.
Yeah. And it's so funny. Shit like this is so petty when you really look at it, because they allowed 20th Century to retain its like branding, but it's not 20th Century Fox anymore.
Yeah,
it's just 20th Century. It's just 20th Century. It used to be 20th Century Fox for so long, and so it's just such a petty thing where they're like, we want to squash Fox out of the pic. Like we don't want that. We don't want that branding.
It's so funny though, but it's like, and they bought a whole net. Like they got the Simpsons, they got the Futurama,
everything,
and they're like, we didn't even want it. Like,
we just wanted X-Men, and you made us buy an entire, like if you had the pie of all of like TV and movies, they had to buy like 20% of the pie to get 5 characters.
Like,
that's all
they're
they
like,
wanted.
we just want these characters back.
We just want our characters.
We can't watch another fucking Fantastic Four movie that you guys make.
The baby X-Men. We got to go further back. They're now babies.
And the funny thing is, like, they separated. They're like, all this shit you can only watch on Hulu, and then they're like, oh no, we'll just combine it all now.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting.
But to imagine having that kind of problem, like, oh, we want these same characters. Like, what do we gotta do? We gotta spend like I forgot what they spent. Wasn't it like a couple billion or
It
100
was a
million?
lot. It was a lot.
All right, let's do it. Imagine improving that. Like you're pitching it. Like, what do you guys want? You like Wolverine? We're gonna get him. Human Torch, totally getting them. Like, don't we have him? Isn't that Captain America? Yeah,
right?
but we want somebody else to play him.
So a quick look is the Walt Disney Company acquired 21st Century Fox for $71 billion. 71 billion. Imagine being the guy that's like, hey, can you sign off on this purchase? And you're like, yeah, what I got the checkbook right here. How much? 71 billion. Like, how many zeros is that?
Yeah, I don't think hold on, wait, what are we buying now? Like, wait, we want 6 characters and we're paying 71 billion? 10 billion a character?
So the initial bid was actually 52 billion, and that was in December of 2017, with the final purchase price at 71.3 billion in March of 2019, which is right before COVID hit. Man, imagine like this is sorry, just side tangent, but Disney was so confident because they're like, dude, we make that much money through our parks and our cruises and our movies and all that. So what? Like, they literally had to clear out their stash. They blew their load. They're like, we kept just enough to stay open, but every spare dollar else they dumped on this purchase. And then like a month later, COVID shuts down everything. No movies, no shows, no streaming, no theme parks, no cruises. Their entire... People forget Disney almost got bought by Apple because they were worried they couldn't stay afloat during the pandemic. So talk about one of the biggest gambles that very well could have ended Disney as a company. You know,
like what do we got coming out? Black Widow's gonna make us a bunch of money.
Maybe $0.
Lost money because they got sued.
Oh God.
Yeah,
but
that's
because of that,
scary.
They bought 20th Century Fox Film and 20th Century Fox TV studios. They also got FX. They also got National Geographic, and they also got the controlling stake in Hulu.
Like how they got ESPN.
Yeah, and the only thing that wasn't included was the news section and major sports broadcasting assets. So you had Fox News, Fox Sports, which were spun off into a Fox corporation.
And that was only because they would be considered a monopoly. They would own like all the most of the major news networks.
Yeah. So
but
it's crazy.
And they haven't made that money back. That's what's fucking like look at what they bought, and the only movie they made from that thing is fucking Fantastic Four. Which doesn't, what did that make, like 200 million or something?
Well,
and it's like, you spent 70 billion, they haven't gotten it back yet at all.
Part of that, remember, they now own like Avatar, which is 2 or 3 of the top earning movies of all time. So they own that.
Like, tops, maybe the movie makes close to $1 billion. So it's like, what do you got? 4 of those? It's only like 4 or 5 billion, and you still got to account for about like 75 fucking billion dollars.
It's like we only need
$65 billion.
Hey James Cameron, we need you to knock out 69 more Avatar movies.
We can get a return on our investment,
so we can be at even. Yes,
which
you're
is
right.
Nuts. It's like, yeah, they didn't make a prop. Like they're not turning an investment on that purchase yet.
Yeah,
like, and Paramount's here like, let's buy Warner Brothers. This is gonna be great. It's like, what the fuck are you gonna do? You think you're gonna make $18 billion on fucking Animaniacs? Get the fuck out of here.
Oh man, it's so true. It's so true.
Good on them. Keep it up. But they also make, like you said, $5 billion a year from the fucking parks or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that's what
it's a ridiculous
keeps them flush, Blair, and all the merchandising.
It is a ridiculous amount of money that they get from the cruises. The Disney cruise is one of the not. I took my kid on a Disney cruise. It is a amazing experience, but
Most
you
one
pay
of the most
top
expensive
dollars.
experiences.
It is.
Yeah.
It is literally the most expensive cruise you can go on. But I mean, it's an experience. Will I ever
It's
do it
tight.
again? No.
No.
But it was.
Yeah, you get like your own waiter and shit. You have like the same waiter the whole time. They memorize your stuff. Like, oh,
Yep.
here's your fucking Diet Coke. You can't drink on there. You only want like 3 beers. Like, I spent all this money and I can't even get lit. Like,
Oh God. But yeah. So yeah, I don't even know how we got on that train of thought, but fucking
we just fucking this is the Mad Mike experience. You're welcome. Fucking don't have. Oh, here's your plan. I fucking shit on this plan.
there you go. All
Shit
right.
on that squirrel I saw earlier today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about the top of the hour. I'm going to kick us off to a break. And when we come back, we have the incredible interview with Jon Bolerjack, the filmmaker, director, creator behind the Stan Lee documentary, The Stan Lee, The Final Chapter. Watch it. I thoroughly
Yeah.
watch that film and watch this interview, because talking with him was an incredible experience. And just sit back and watch. We'll have a short break while I cue it up, and then we'll be back with more show right after this. Mad Mike, say goodbye to the audience.
Goodbye, audience.
You're such a dork. All right, guys, we'll be back in a few minutes.
Hey, you there? Yeah, it is right, you. Let me ask you something, right? Where the hell do you think that you're going? Oh, what do you think because the show is going to commercial that means you get to just walk away? Well, CQ asked me to pass on the little message, alright? And it says, I'll be back.
In the shadows of the city bright, where heroes rise and take the fight, there's a voice that breaks the night. It's CQ with the insight. From the comics to the silver screens, talking legends and those crazy scenes, pop culture, dreams and hidden themes. CQ reveals what it all means. From the comics to the silver screens, talking legends and those crazy scenes, pop culture, dreams and hidden themes. CQ reveals what it all means. Pop culture warrior here to ignite, guiding through the tales of light. With CQ leading the charts so bright, we're ready for another flight. Pop culture warrior here to ignite, guiding through the tales of light. With CQ leading the charts so bright, we're ready for another flight. Marvel at the twists and turns, villains playing, heroes learn. Every episode we'll discern lessons from the past to learn. Games we play and books we read, CQ's lessons what we need. Memories that make us bleed, together we will take the lead. Pop culture warrior here to ignite, guiding through the tales of light. With CQ leading the charts so bright, we're ready for another fight. Pop culture warrior here to ignite, guiding through the tales of light. With CQ leading the charts so bright, we're ready for another fight. tales of might. We'll see Julie in the charts so bright. We're ready for another flight. Pop culture warrior here to ignite. Guiding through the tales of might. We'll see Julie in the charts so bright. We're ready.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pop Culture Warrior. This is hour 2. This is the interview hour. And really over the next couple of weeks, I think like the next 8 weeks, we are booked solid. So there will be a guest every week from now until I swear to 2027. And we are absolutely flush with guests, which is awesome because is my favorite thing to do in the world. This is a great interview, and I don't want to waste any more time, so we're going to get straight to it. Let me do my world famous intro. So, Stan Lee spent decades inspiring generations of fans and helping shape the world of comics as we know it. But behind the public appearances, the trademark humor, and the larger-than-life personality, his final years told a much more troubling story. Filmmaker Jon Bolerjack worked closely with Stan as both an assistant and videographer, capturing hundreds of hours of footage over several years. That footage became the foundation of the documentary Stan Lee, The Final Chapter, an intimate look at the power struggles, alleged exploitation, and personal turmoil surrounding Stan near the end of his life. Now, I recently sat down with Jon to discuss what he witnessed, why he kept the cameras rolling, and the difficult questions that come with telling this story now. Without further ado, here's my conversation with filmmaker Jon Bolerjack. All right, I want to thank Mr. Jon Bolerjack for being here today. Thank you for joining us on Pop Culture Warrior and taking the time. There's so much I want to talk to you about. You just premiered the film in front of an audience at San Diego Comic-Con. First of all, what was that like? What was that feeling to take this thing that was a part of your life for so long, intimately, and then worked on for so long, and then now to take it and put it in front of the very audience that it's kind of about? Take us through the emotions. What was that like?
Well, when you said it's been a part of my life for so long, I thought we were just talking about San Diego Comic-Con. So I didn't ask about the film, but yes, that's also, I mean, the film has been a decade and Comic-Con has been 27 years in a row. I've hit that now. So it's like, both two very long things, but yeah, I mean, it's a little surreal to, parts of the movie take place at San Diego Comic-Con. So then to be at San Diego and be like, oh, I was just downstairs at the Hasbro booth where that happened, or I was just over here at the Marvel booth, from that scene. So that's always interesting to be in the same place, but also just to come full circle because the clip where I meet Stan for the first time and we talk is at the hotel next door to San Diego. So it's a real full circle to start my meeting there with him and then have it play, a decade later at the thing. So at the show. So that was like very sort of surreal. And I didn't really even put that together until someone else asked me about it. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
And for those that don't know, let's take a step back and say, before you became part of Stan Lee's inner circle, who was Stan Lee to you as a fan?
What's funny is Stan is like, first he's a name on a comic, when you're a kid, pre-internet, because I'm like, that's how old I am, ladies and gentlemen, is pre-internet. He's just the name on a page. Then he's a cartoon voice that you hear. Then he's a cartoon character that you see, and then I didn't know what Stan looked like as a person until the Marvel movies. I might have seen a picture in a comic. I can't be sure, but, him in X-Men is the first, thing I have to him as a person. But, up until then, he might as well just be Spider-Man or something. He's just a guy that made a thing. And that's kind of, and actually it's hard to believe now, but even back then that wasn't that big of a deal. Actually, you were just like, it was such a thing. You didn't quite understand what it meant. So, he was all those things. He didn't really mean I guess you'd say he didn't really mean much until I was older and I met him in person and then got to know him as a kid. You don't really understand how important someone is or isn't until, you meet them. And then he became much more important, obviously, after I met him.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird. This is a stretch, but it reminds me of a lot of like Vince McMahon, in that a lot of people first saw him as like an announcer or a
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
who
yeah, yeah.
this character, but then you don't. Oh my God, no, he's the mastermind behind it all. He's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he built it all up. So Stan Lee, yeah, just like you said, I knew of him. I grew up like, you've heard of Stan Lee Presents and all these things, and you would see in the magazines about like, oh, created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and all these things. And like you, it was the movies where you go, oh, that's the guy. That's the guy
Yeah.
that did it all and brought it to the forefront. And tell us a little bit, how did you go from meeting Stan to becoming someone he specifically wanted beside him? You lovingly got the nickname Hairspray. How does all that come about?
Yeah, I mean, that question's come up quite a bit, and I always say it because I feel bad. I don't have like a cool origin story to be like, oh, I snuck in and did this cool thing. I just was a 13-year-old kid who was buying statues from this guy at San Diego Comic-Con, and every year I would go there and buy statues from him, and he got used to seeing me, and over years we just got to know each other. And then when I was older, I ran into him in the hallway of a comic convention. Just, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? And he said, oh, I'm working with Stan. And at that time I was working in documentary as an assistant. And I said, oh, I should pitch him on doing like a docu-series or something. But literally it just comes to the fact that I happened to be in the right place at the right time. And I happened to buy statues from this guy, when I was a kid. And it's just all very lucky. Like, I wish I had some special skill that got me in there, but really the real skill part comes after you get in. You don't blow it, you don't do any, that's like the real part where the skill comes in. But yeah, just pure luck. I don't have anything cool. I don't have any cool story for that.
I mean, that sometimes you call it chance, you call it destiny, you call it fate. Who knows what it is? But you were there, you were ready for it. So you get into kind of the inner circle. You become one of the crew. You start filming. You just start filming. When you started just capturing these videos and these images and these things, what did you think the project was going to be initially?
Well, at first I just thought it would be like, I mean, if I tell you, oh, hey, we're gonna go hang out with Stan Lee, right? In your mind, you're thinking like, oh, maybe like, he'll take some pictures, maybe like a celebrity will be there, like maybe Iron Man will just show up. Like, you have all these delusions of what it will be, and it's really exciting and interesting, and then you start doing it, and then you realize he's just signing like 1,000 comic books in a hotel room, and then he's going to sign 1,000 comic books at a convention center, and then it's actually not as interesting. So in my mind, I thought it would be that a day in the life. Then maybe we'll take a limo over and see this, and it just wasn't any of that. It was very mundane, and so then I was like, well, this is not going to work in the way that I thought it was going to work, and so then I had to pivot at that point, and I knew it would be interesting enough in the long term. So I just I asked him, hey, can I just keep filming? And then the story will figure itself out. Like, maybe we'll just have one really crazy day. Then the whole thing becomes about that day or something, who knows where it'll go. Plus I just like hanging out with Stan. Who doesn't want to hang out with Stan Lee? There's like a million people out there paying $100 to have him sign something, or $100 to take a photo. And I'm going to get to spend all day with him. Like, even if nothing comes of it, that's just win-win regardless. And so I just set out to let the story to figure it out. And then it just over time presented itself to me, and that's where it started.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I wanna take a moment, just because obviously we're here to talk about the film, but it really is about Stan Lee. And you say something, or somebody says something in the documentary about how the Stan Lee that people got was Stan Lee. There was no, with a lot of celebrities, I've been doing this a long time. I've been interviewing people a lot of times, and you start to get like the public face, and then that kind of slips off in between, and you slip back into the thing. Stan Lee wasn't that. Like, Stan Lee was like, it's so hard for people to fathom I had the great fortune. I met him a couple times doing different events and things. I got my Stan Lee signatures. I've got my Stan Lee picture up on the wall. I mean, we've all got it. You probably get this all the time. Can I share with you the most impactful Stan Lee story that I have?
Sure.
That how he affected me. And it dates back to this picture. I want to see if I don't know if it'll capture on. Don't be looking at my messages. 2012. 2012 is that picture.
I swear he still has those clothes in footage I have of 2016. I swear I have that shirt.
Yes.
And the pants same outfit.
He had a comfortable look, and he was comfortable with that look. I share this just because it highlights who he was as a person. And my wife, God bless her, knew I was a huge Stan Lee fan. And obviously, you see my background, I'm a big Marvel fan. And he basically birthed the Marvel universe from himself. And so as a gift one year, she got me like the VIP meet and greet. So you get to meet him and you get a photo and you get the autograph and all this and great. And I'm a disabled vet. And at that time, I was still having a lot of physical issues. Not to mention PTSD and things that made it a little difficult to be in big crowds. At the time, I was with another disabled vet who also had a service dog, and we had his child in a stroller. And so when we go to the part where we're going to get the autographed, I won't name the convention just because I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but they didn't do a very good job of managing the lines. It was very compact. It was this weird serpentine tight S curve. And so there was just no way.
As soon as you said dog and child and cart and you not wanting to be in confined spaces, I was already in my head being like, I know what this line looks like that you're talking about. And I'm like, this is already a recipe for disaster.
Disastrous. And so, we go and we see this and we're like, there's no way we can do that. So I go up to the security guy and I go, listen, we're not trying to jump the line. We're not. Like, look at the person that's at the end, that person in a pink shirt, right? We'll stand off to the side here. And when that pink shirt gets to the front of the line, hey, we're next. We slide in, we do our thing, we're out. We're okay with that. And he goes, oh, let me check in and everything. And so we're standing there, and Stan's booth, for whatever reason, was like at the end of the aisle. So there was this big aisle right by it. So we're standing there. And my buddy, I guess, saw it happening, and his eyes just get wide. And I'm like, what? He's coming. And Stan just comes charging out from behind the booth with all these people waiting. And I can't do an impression of Stan, but he's just like, I hear there's a big fan over here, and this, and are you guys vets? And we're like, yes, sir. Yeah, we're both disabled vets. And he's like, oh my God. And like security, like wrapped us in this kind of circular bubble. So it was the most intimate thing ever. It was just me, my buddy, and Stan in this circle of bodyguards. And he was so nice. He was just so sweet. And he gave us a hug, and he put his, which massive hands. I don't think people realize, like, he put his hand on my shoulder, and I was like, oh my God, like, it's just massive. He seemed larger than life. And, we said, hey, we have the VIP thing. Like, we'll take our one autograph. We'll be happy. He just starts grabbing stuff out of our hands and just starts signing everything. He didn't get DC Comics, toys. Like he didn't care. He's like, I'm signing everything. And he was just so generous. And I felt so bad for the people that were in line waiting, because he took time.
That was, you said that was 2012?
2012, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, look, 2012, first of all, the line would have been shorter than later, and also his autograph was probably $50 at most then. So you know what? Everybody got a good deal on that line. So I think it's okay if he came over. That was some of the best stand time there was. So, everyone got a good deal.
He was so amazing and so incredible and so sweet and so generous and just the nicest person. And again, I crossed paths with him, a few times throughout the years, and he was just always this character, this person, this they tell you, oh, don't meet your heroes, but he was the guy you want to meet because he loved his fans so much. And that's why this film is so fucking devastating. And it broke me, and I have no bones about it. It shattered my heart into a million pieces, because I remember the news stories when they broke, and and we were all like, we have our little nerd group, and then we're texting back and forth like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And so it was devastating. And then to witness it through your lens and the actual footage, it is heartbreaking and damaging. Luckily, there's a more or less happy ending. Not to spoil the film for everybody, but
Mhm.
there's more or less a happy ending. But I'm curious, in knowing all this, was there one specific moment that comes to your mind when you realize that, like, through all this capturing footage and capturing film, that,
Mhm.
like, this is this isn't really capturing the life of Stan Lee that I thought I was capturing, and that
Mhm.
there was
Mhm.
something, maybe, when did it start to creep up that it was maybe something more sinister or something more just wrong? It didn't feel right.
I mean, in the film itself, when Stan starts asking about where his money is, that was kind of like the thing that was like the most glaring. I mean, some stuff you just don't pick up right away. You see it and it's like a little weird, but what do you know? You're new, or what do you know? Like you sort of like, is it weird that all the money gets counted and then Max takes it? And it's like, well, not really, because Stan's like old. So like, what's he gonna carry, a backpack of cash around to the? I mean, it's like,
Right.
I'm sure like when Norman Reedus is doing a convention, although actually that's not true, because Norman Reedus did, like, he had a big old satchel thing, but most guys are not carrying their own money. You know what I mean? So it didn't seem necessarily weird at that time, and you don't, until you go back and start analyzing things with a new perspective, suddenly then things, click in a way more. So, I mean, really, when he did start to ask about the money and started asking me about the money is when really that is like in the film. And the thing about the film, to go back to your thing about the chat group and wondering what happened, is like the whole thing of the film is like it's how it happened, and I want that lens to not be my lens. I want that lens to feel like your lens, like your I want you to be there with me because you are me, in the sense of like I didn't know either, and then it answers those questions. So the thing is, I want to take you there with me in the film, and the actual footage is supposed to make you feel like you're there. So you're not even believing me, you're there witnessing it yourself, and you're then coming to your own conclusions based off of what you're seeing. That is sort of what I was going for in that film. And to your thing about the news reports, now when you see what happened, if you go, not that you remember, but if you go back and you look at some of those news reports, they're really incomplete. If
Hmm.
you find the news report of the swatting with Kane and the bodyguards, if you look at the Daily Mail story, it says nothing really. It has no real idea about what happened, and so this fills in those gaps, gives you the real, of what happened.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right that it, and hearing it now, it clicks, because it's not a, credits open and here's the bad guy and now let me take you back. It was as if we are you, and now you're suddenly thrust into this position, and we're meeting all the people involved, and we're seeing, it almost has that dreamy kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Hmm.
And then it's that slow turn of where
Hmm.
things start to make sense and start to come into focus. And so, absolutely, it really hits that, I think, very well. And you talked about that moment. The one that really lands is that the how much money did I make? And it's,
Hmm.
again, like this heartbreaking thing to hear, and I got to know what went through your mind when, this man whose image has generated an empire, and he's telling you he didn't know how much money he made that day. Like, what, take us to that moment. What's the thought? What's the feeling of behind that?
Well, I mean, so like I'm a very like I'm very quick sort of at assessing things, and like like some people are kind of indecisive, or like at you being in the military, you may have it where like maybe you're in the kitchen, your wife drops something and water's going everywhere, you're immediately like take the towel to have the thing, like pick up the, like you're immediately acting, and you can kind of see it. And whereas someone else might be like, well, don't cut yourself, what if we get this, and you're like, no, 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 decisions have to be made, I'm playing it out already. Like that's very much me, is like I sort of see things very quickly about options. And so in the moment when Stan tells me, hey, you know, where's the money, immediately I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, obviously there's something wrong, here with that. But then you also have to decide what you're going to do about it, right? You can't just immediately jump into action and say like, I'm going to tell the police, because what does that even mean? You go to the police and you go, yeah, I drive Stan to the conventions and I do his dry cleaning. I think there's money missed. Like, you don't have enough information there. So you then have to figure out what's actually happening, and that takes time. That's not just a conversation you can have. You can't I know at that point Max well enough that if I go there and go, hey, he doesn't know where his money is, he's just going to say he forgot or I gave it to him. So like, now I'm like, oh god, this is going to be an investigation. That's when the documentary really starts taking shape. That's when the focus starts happening, because now I have to investigate what's happening in a way that doesn't tell the people I'm investigating them for what's happening. And that was the real thing in my mind, was like, okay, well, here's the story. And now how do I get to the bottom of it without raising so much attention that I just get the boot?
Without
That's the real
exposing
investigative part.
yourself as someone who's trying to make a difference. Yeah.
That's the that's the real thing, contrary to, a guy who watched John Wick a bunch of times and can solve every problem in 2 seconds. It actually takes real effort and time to really solve a problem. You have to do that. And that's what was really occurring to me in those moments, is I was like, okay, well, now I got to start looking into this. I can't pretend it didn't happen. I got to figure it out.
Yeah. And realistically, the type of people that would manipulate or take advantage are the kind of people that they're not doing it willy-nilly. They've got a plan. They've got a story. They know how to spin a fact. They know this is something that's been built layer on layer on layer on layer. And it's not something that you can just go, hey, where's the money? And then they go, oh no, they caught me. Like this is something they are staking their life on. They people who would do something like this absolutely know it's wrong and will fight very hard to keep, if you're a mafia don, you're not just going to go, hey, they have a feeling I'm busted. No, you're going to fight back and you're going to, double down and triple down. So,
I mean, it's not anyone involved who was doing some shady things with Stan. It was not their first foray into that. There's a past record of people in other, situations, and this is something that they're seasoned in. Also, as Stan's getting older, his memory is getting worse. So it's also at that point in time, not that Max was a particularly smart man, but you didn't have to be at that point, because Stan's memory was also going, like you just had to be confident. So that was another sort of multiplier, when his daughter dies, or when his wife dies, when his mental decline is happening, it just becomes easier and easier. And that's also when it accelerates, and sort of gets worse and worse.
It almost feels like they know there's a ticking clock, and that the gravy train is reaching the end of the station. So you got to start, milking it for what it's worth. And it's horrible. To speak on Max for a second, who we'll just say was his like business manager for many years, or confidant,
it was like handler, manager, road man. It's kind of whatever. It would depend on the day what the name or the definition was.
Right.
It's noticeably in the years since, with all this attention, gotten softer and softer. Before it was manager, and then it was road manager, and then it was like it gets less control sounding as we go.
Some dude that was just around, that's on the business card. And he went on record saying that, like, oh no, Stan wanted to be busy, especially after Joan died, his wonderful wife, and it was his choice to do that. Nobody pushed him to do it. How did you distinguish between the parts of Stan choosing to work and then the parts that are, you think, other people maybe pushing him beyond what was safe or reasonable?
Well, there wasn't any distinguishing, only because Stan's just saying he doesn't want to do it. You know what I mean? There's not a lot to that. I mean, we went to Australia, and I remember up until the week before we left, he was saying he wasn't going to go, and he didn't think he was going to go. It wasn't even on his radar. But the poor guy who had fronted the first class tickets to Australia from the convention had no idea that he wasn't coming either. and it just got really pushed to the wire, you know, and then suddenly Stan's being told, oh, if you go, you're going to make $1 million, which will get someone on a plane. You know what I mean? But you only have to say that long enough to get the guy on the plane. And then he doesn't remember that you said that 2 weeks ago. You know, that was the level that was sort of operating at that point. So again, and even then you have to remember, so again, to the people that watch too much Law and Order and think that, you know, they would have stopped 9/11 if they'd been on the plane, you can go to Stan and go, hey, you weren't going to go, remember? Like, you can try to jog that memory and you can try to get that. But again, you're not there all the time. So even if you get like where you need to be, you're going to be gone doing something else, and that's going to either fade or someone else is going to come in and go, no, remember you said you would go. And it's just a hot potato thing, you know what I mean? And that was the real difficult part, is those, you know, moments, knowing who to trust, knowing who you could go to, because even if you go to someone else and you tell them, you don't know what they're going to do, you know, like they might just go shoot their mouth off too, and you have no idea. And that was the real difficult part of being on the inside while you're still trying to make a film about what's happening, a documentary, which is why you're there. Then you're blurring because now you care about them. Then you're trying to make sure you stay so that you can like at least get them a break when you can, and you want to witness it because you know when you're gone, no one's going to believe. It's a very complicated thing that you're trying to serve all these, you know, masters. It's hard to balance that, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to tiptoe a line so that you're not cast aside, because something we see recur very often in this film is that people that you know stood up and said something were immediately gone. So,
Yeah.
you know, you want to be there to help the person. You want to rescue them, but you need the evidence, but you have to watch, and then you have to be part, you have to play along. And
Yeah.
it's, I can't imagine, you know, it's the life of being like a spy, right? And that you sometimes have to do the bad things because it's the only way to get to the bottom of it and stop it.
And that, yeah. And the thing is that's having to try to balance all that stuff, that's like the hard part to try to explain also, because the more you try to explain that to someone who's not in the moment, you know, whether it be the fog of war or something else, you know, when you try to explain that to someone who's not there, then the more you try to explain it, the more it sounds like you're justifying it, even if you're just trying to be detailed oriented, you know, and then, so then it's still lose, you know, it's one of those things that you just have to like, all I can do is sort of present it, and then that's it. You know what I mean? If someone has a hard time understanding it, you just got to let it go, because you're never going to convince everyone. As someone who is a public figure now, you're going to have on the same chain going, wow, this is so great, I'm glad he was there. And then 2 seconds later, you're gonna have some guy that goes, you know, fuck him, if I was there, I would have saved her. You know, you can't.
I would
win
have
those battles.
took
You
Stan
have
in
to
my
be as-
arms and flew away.
You just have to be as clear as you can with the storytelling. And for me, my motto was show as much of it and say as least of it. So if I can show you the video or I can play the audio for you, then I don't have to convince you. You know, you can still leave the movie and go, I hate that John guy, but still know that stuff happened, and that's fine too. It doesn't matter, you know, as long as you know that's what happened. Then I've done my job, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, you know, you're not just the filmmaker observing this, right? Like I think of the National Geographic, they're watching the lion eat the gazelle, and like you might love the gazelle, but like, I'm here to just capture the truth. But in this situation, you're physically there and you're part of the group around him. So I can imagine it has to tear you up inside, as someone who loves him, clearly loves him and adores him and respects him, that like, I don't know, like, how do you not intervene, right? I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying.
No.
Like,
I mean, the thing is like you intervene. I mean, I don't know how the guys who do war documentaries, like I really like war documentaries, guys who are on the ground, because the risk they're taking to do the thing, I like really admire that they can actually like put their own life at risk. But I don't know how they get close to these guys and then what, you know, like I've seen like Iraq documentaries, that kind of shit, and I don't know how they get so close to these guys and then some of these guys die, or they're there right there filming it, and I don't know how in that moment the guy you're with, you know, you've been with filming, gets shot or something, and then you're filming it, right? I mean, you're not a doctor, you can't save them, but who has the presence of mind to like stick to that duty of filmmaking that's just like an insane, like, I don't know how that's possible. Like, I don't think I would be able to do that. I'd get all the way to there and someone else would have like, so to your thing, yeah, I mean, how do you not do something again to what I was saying earlier about me being able to like kind of see the lay of the land very quickly is like I know in those situations, like I can read a situation when it is and isn't tenable, right? So sometimes I know I could just shout real quick and say you're being mean or you're an asshole, but that I know that's not going to do anything. So you want to say it, but you're just gone. Then you got nothing to show for it. I get to do this podcast with you, and I have no third part of the story, and I go, but I did call him an asshole. You're not going to give me a parade because I just said he's mean. Like
I had the
you have
last
to,
word.
exactly. So what you had to do is just get in when you could. So essentially, like, there'd be a lot of times where Stan would have to be signing a lot of stuff. And Max at this point is not, he's got to go shake hands and kiss babies and be the king of Comic-Con. He's not going to sit around and watch Stan sign autographs. So he leaves and it's just me in there, or me and a couple guys. And when Max leaves, I can just go to Stan and go, hey, are you tired? Why don't you take a nap? Right. Then he goes and takes a nap on the couch. Max comes back. None of the books are signed. He's pissed, but like, what is he going to do? I know that he's, depending who's in the room, not going to be able to go, how dare you give him a nap, right? He needs to keep that narrative. So he's going to be annoyed, but he's not going to say it. And all I have to say is Stan said he was tired and I can push it off me. And, then he gets the nap, right? Now, is that like a huge victory for mankind? No, but at least he gets a nap. You know what I mean? Sort of like, those are the battles you win. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'd rather be in there chipping away at those small battles than telling Max he's mean and then that's it. You know what I mean? To what end? What am I succeeding there? You know what I mean? It's more important now that the truth's out and I got to do what I could than just blowing my stack and losing it all for nothing,
Yeah. And I'm sure those were valuable minutes. Those were valuable times where, get the guy a fruit snack or a nap, like you said. Yeah. And so the uncomfortable question, which I'm sure now that people are seeing the film are probably coming to you and asking, which is, looking back, is there anything you believe you should have done sooner or more aggressively? Do you regret any certain actions or inactions? Again, not to lay blame, just
no.
I'm curious where your mind is on it.
I mean, no, you're correct, because that question is like, there's it's sort of like a lose-lose question. Not that that's what you're doing, but that's just by definition, right? Is because the actual answer, which sounds more like, it sounds too assured, it sounds too much like ego, is to say that I know there's nothing else that could have been done, right? That's not an answer that you necessarily, even from like a publicist standpoint, it sounds too like egotistical to know that like couldn't have done it, because but I know I was there for 5 years. I know these people, like how they work. I saw other people, I learned when I was a kid, if some guy put a piece of metal in the light, the light socket, I didn't need to also do it. I saw what happened to them and I didn't have to do it. So, I learned and I read this situation properly. And it just was one of those things where, given my status within the relationship of everybody else, there was just no solution. I didn't have the fame. I didn't have the power. I didn't have, a PR team to help get me interviews on things. I just wasn't a thing, And then when I did have the power, to go to the police and go to the, the news outlets, they just weren't interested. They passed on it, So, that's really the thing to remember, is in the early time, I had no juice. And at the end time, when I did, no one cared, so it's like that. I know that I did try. Now, people want an answer. I think from even just a storytelling standpoint, they want some deep reflective thing to be like, if only I just told Uncle Mickey, but like, I just know that that's not the case. Like, I would love to know that, because maybe I'd feel better in the sense of being like, well, I could have done something and I just failed, and maybe it would help me inspire something else. But I just know that there wasn't anything else. Like, it's just, it was the only readable thing to do in that situation, was to read the room right and know to have to wait. And it was really frustrating. And that is partly what drives making this movie. You know what I mean? It took me 10 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Everyone else that I was on the train with to make this movie had bailed at some point because it just wasn't feasible for them. And I just pushed through a 6-year lawsuit and hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost and, internet coming after me. Like, I didn't quit because the responsibility of doing it, is very heavy, and that's why I stuck around and had to do it, because this is just the only path. This is just the only feasible path that happened. And I know that sounds like could come off as like arrogant, that you
No.
didn't do anything, but that's just, I mean, as someone who, again, not that the two things are remotely correct, but even if you've, in combat or in the military, like sometimes you just have to do what you have to do to get it done. You know what I mean? And it might not be the prettiest way of doing it, but it's the only way of doing it that and that's just unfortunately how it ended. I wish I'd had better chances, but they just didn't, present themselves.
No,
I mean, I will say Max was better at it than Kia, like, so, I had less, the security guards and the nurses had a better, landing path for that, which they executed, in a great way. I didn't have that same kind of option.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a cop out. I don't think it's arrogant. I think it's like you said, reading the situation and understanding. You more than anyone have had the most time to second guess, and worse than just second guessing, you've got the footage. You're reliving the actual moments. Is my combat experience. I go back and I go, man, could I have done this? And your memories, they blur and they create things that maybe weren't there or not there. But for you to be like looking at the footage, right, and being able to dissect it, like, in this moment, this happened. Could I have said something? You know better than anyone. And I think that's the most honest answer you can give, and an amazing answer. And to touch on a little bit of the idea of bringing footage to members of the media, to police and all that, you talk about in the film, you just talked about it.
Yeah.
What, I don't know if legally, if we can talk about it, but what kind of things did you try to show them? And why do you think nobody acted, nobody cared? Why?
Well, so that's actually part of the film that it goes by very quickly, because one, I'm not gonna make you guys sit in a 3-hour film, and two, a lot of those were conversations that were had direct to face to face, which at the time I thought was better, because if you're getting face, that's the thing. In those moments when I was back with Stan and I had the ability to try to do some stuff, it never occurred to me like, oh, I should have follow-up emails or something, because who would need receipts? Like, I'm talking to the police. I have Stan right here. The district, the assistant district attorney of Los Angeles is in Stan's living room. I will not get more access than this. So it just at the time did not occur to me to get anything, and so in the movie, I wanted the movie to be, you see it. If you don't see it, I'm not going to spend my time trying to convince you. You're just going to have to take my credibility or not. And so I didn't want to put in a whole bunch of, and then I said this, and then I said that, and I have no corroboration on that stuff. So I left it. But yeah, I mean, that to me is actually the most surreal part of that last arc of the film, is like, how did nothing happen? I think it's a crazy thing. But yeah, I mean, I took it to the Los Angeles Times. They weren't interested. Media, whether it be in America or other places, is really just about at the time of what's trendy, and what's going to get the clicks, like in whatever current fad we were in, that they wanted to write about was what they were more interested in. And they just passed. And I took it to TMZ, which is a slam dunk. I mean, if Shaquille O'Neal has a sandwich, it's on TMZ. So I'm like, how are they going to pass up on this? And I remember the voice message is so campy, it's like, hey, welcome to TMZ, leave your tip here, sort of thing. And I said, hey, I have 100 gigs or whatever of Stan Lee and this, I explained it, and I said, you can have it, just call me back and I'll give you the whole thing. And they just never called. But the bigger thing was the police was going, the Los Angeles Police Department and the district attorney were working on a case that was Kia related, and I was very much Max related. I wanted that, and so I was being very annoying to admit that every time they'd come to talk, I'd be like, yeah, but what about this Max thing? Like, I gave you the footage. Like, what do we got? We have anything going with that sort of thing? And after a couple months and me just being relentless, the detective took me outside and he put his hand on my shoulder, and I can't. In my mind, again, you think things, it gets foggy. I don't know if it was an aggressive, or a compassion. He was a nice guy. So I don't, but he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, you have to let this Max thing go. He said, if you don't let it go, it's just going to eat you up, because nothing is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to Max. So you got to let it go. Um, and then I, again, in a very unmanly, uncinematic way, went and just cried in my car for like 40 minutes out of just pure frustration of like, when a cop tells you to stop, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? There's no higher up. Let me see your manager. There's nowhere to go with that. So that was really soul crushing to have that. Cause I just thought I had it all. I thought I checkmate, baby. I got Stan, I got the police, I got it all, and it just didn't go that way. So that was really frustrating. I think that's a whole nother movie in itself, like of how that happens.
It's crazy. You like you said, slam dunk. You think uh uh in every cop, oh, it's the smoking gun. We've got it on video. It's better than a fingerprint. It's
Yeah.
better than
Yeah, yeah.
it's on video. You can't it kills that that's the answer you get. And obviously this film makes allegations, we'll say it, about real people, and a lot of those people deny wrongdoing.
Mhm.
So you touched on it a little bit, but I really want to highlight this is what standard of corroboration did you require before including some of these accusations into the finished movie, right? Like how do we discern that this is legit?
Most of the time, it was something that I had either witnessed in some form of the other, and someone else was corroborating it. Like if I'd seen it, and Jerry had seen it or something, then that was good enough. Or if it was something that I had, that I either had a tertiary connection to, whether I heard it from a bunch of the entourage, and then I talked to the guy that it was about, and their stories meshed. That was sort of the thing. And then sometimes it was just sort of the credibility of the person. There's some people, I don't want to give spoilers, but there's some people, some family members and stuff who I met, and who that just becomes an instinct thing. You just sort of like have to talk to them. And the interview was like 4.5 hours. So what you do is kind of like a police thing, actually, is you ask during the interview the same questions in different ways, and you see, like, are they consistent? Are they, when a person starts to get really emotional, that's the time to dig, because they're not thinking clearly enough. What's my story? I'm trying to remember. If they're emotional and they're passionate, like they're gonna slip up, they're gonna forget something, they're gonna add something. And so if I found their stuff credible, you know in a way that then we would include it, and if we have to include a note, we will. But that's mostly is like either I had personal connections to it, I had video to support it, or I knew the person's character enough that that I felt that it was worth putting in.
So you touched on it. There's a moment where there's a story told, and you very clearly identified in the film that, like, hey,
Mm.
this is their testimony. We tried to verify it. There was nothing we could do, but we like it's almost like you said, it rung true enough that I think it
Yeah.
paints a picture. You believe it, but you put it out there. You're
And
very
sometimes you
honest
want to
about
be
it.
more and sometimes you want to be more specific, like for that thing, when he was talking about the warrants and the cases. The records from 19 it was like 1986 or something, right? You go search the records. I found the city, the time period of that he said, and court filings, but there are no details anymore, because it's like,
Mm,
it's a bunch of speeding tickets or whatever. Who's gonna, it's like, I guess they don't save that forever from 1986. I don't think anyone's going back to a 50-year-old whatever. So even though I did have the time, approximation, a court case from there, even then, to me, I was already like, oh, we're pretty good here. Like it's all there. But even then, because I couldn't get the actual filing things, I still thought it's safer to just say, like, I couldn't fully get
right.
there. And I didn't even want to try to half justify it with like what I did find. I'm just
Yeah.
like, no, you're just going to let you, as the viewer, make your own, judgments
Yeah.
on whether or not you think that's based off of the other things you're seeing. Does it sound like something possible or not?
So it made me think, was there other material, other important things you feel that maybe you removed because despite believing it happened or having a source that it happened, was there anything that you kind of left out because you couldn't independently verify it?
No, not really. Everything, like I said, I feel really comfortable in everything that we have in there. Like I know, I mean, 99% of it is stuff that I'm there for. The witness that's talking is there for, and has footage for it. So no, I mean, there wasn't the only stuff we ever took out was just because we had too much of it. You know what I mean? Like it's like what you call a hat on a hat, like it was sort of like, does this move the story forward, or does this make you just cry more and you're going to get upset even more when we interview? It wasn't helping the progress of the story. It was just telling you the same thing you already knew. And so that stuff comes out just from I don't want you watching 3 hours of this, like when an hour 40 will do.
Yeah.
So that's really it. I mean, I was very lucky. We had a really good legal team who went over everything. I had the receipts, like you said. Most times documentaries get caught up because some guy says it and there's no corroboration, and then you can't use it. I had the luxury of the footage to back up, what I was saying. And so that part was actually relatively easy.
Yeah, because you are the witness, you are the recorder, you have the video, you have the audio.
Yeah.
So yeah. And now, you possess extraordinarily intimate footage of a man who, through your own film, is shown to be vulnerable, who cannot, at times was not even sure where he was or when it was, or these things. And obviously he's passed, and so he cannot personally approve this finished film. How do you decide what the public needed to see and what Stan deserved to have remain private?
Well, Stan and I talked about like he was aware that I was working on something, and when the stuff really started to pop off and I get back in there, he knew that I was working on something. He knew that it was going to come out inevitably. We did talk about it, but again, like I said, in those last couple of months of his life, my concern was no longer putting a camera in front of his face or something, because again, also look, in the movie, we show people doing that to him. So then what am I like, how am I going to come here and go, yeah, don't believe that guy, for doing the exact thing. Let me show you this video of Stan saying, like it's fine. Like I actually got his lawyers involved and had his lawyers come have a conversation with me and Stan together. So there's like an independent person who works for Stan who, is, 55 and has full, mental, acuity, so that he could then transcribe what we talked about, make sure Stan knew. I felt better about that. I didn't want actually anything direct one-on-one with Stan, even though I know he would say it was fine. I just wanted someone else there for safety's sake. And then Stan had a couple personal requests that I won't divulge, just because he asked me,
Sure.
about a few things, but he was like very open. I said, Stan, look, this is going to make you not look like a great businessman. That clip about you taking the Marvel money, not great, or hiring some people who are not the best. Like, no one's going to say that you're a titan of industry here after this movie comes out. And he was fine with that. It wasn't such a big deal for him. He didn't seem to be ashamed. He didn't have any hesitancy. I think he just, at that point, look, you're also 95, man. You're like, you lived through all this crazy stuff. You're sort of in your last inning. I think I would like when I'm his age, the last thing I'm going to be thinking about is, oh my God, someone on the internet's going to say I wasn't a good businessman. Like, I think it bigger things to ponder at that point, so he seemed pretty at peace with letting the truth get out there. And I think he knew I was doing the right thing and trying to raise awareness. And, I feel based off my own experience with him, confident that he would be proud of the thing. And I don't think it makes Stan particularly look bad anyways. I think it just makes him look like a human, which I think is the hardest thing to do to a guy that famous. How do you make an icon of, everything we see in the world just look like a regular old man who could be your dad? That's a hard thing to do,
And if nothing else, I think, like you said, it humanizes him in a way. And I don't know. I feel like to me, it just really highlighted how good and pure of a soul he was, right? He believed that everyone around him was there to help him bring joy into the world. Like that he knew his mission in life was to touch as many lives and bring smiles to people, and that he had surrounded himself with these people that are there to help him accomplish that. And
he kept believing it. So when something went wrong, the next guy, he gave that guy a chance. He didn't like shut down. I mean, again, I only did a movie about the last 5 years. If you want to, give me 6 more movies and we get started at 1993, and there's like, go look at his wiki. It's not the first bad business venture or guy he's teamed up with between, like there's a lot, and he never sort of shut that down. A lot of guys get burned and they don't, a guy gets divorced, he never gets married again or something, like it's like, it's like a lot of, he never sort of shut down, which I really admire about him, and I think the other thing too is like the humanization thing. Like if Stan was still alive, let's just say, and you saw that movie, right? I think when you saw Stan, if you saw Stan after that, I think there would be a part of you that would be like more, you would feel more connected to him, even though he didn't know who you were. And I think you would fanboy out less. You'd feel like, oh, I know these intimate details about you. It would probably, sounds weird, but be less exciting from a caricature standpoint, and more like you seeing a friend or something. And that's kind of what I was going for.
You took the mystique away from it. You took some of that polish that a lot of these people worked really hard. I remember the year I went to, I think it was New York Comic Con, and there was this huge Stan Lee collectibles. It was like 3 rows long, and I couldn't put my finger on it at the time, but I'm like, it seemed weird. There's Stan Lee rings that say Excelsior, and I'm like, that just it didn't feel like Stan, and it just felt weird. And so now when you put it out there and you go, oh my God, it all clicks. The veil is lifted, and it makes you think. It makes you think a lot about our elders and the people that didn't grow up in a digital age. And so, it's a lot easier to confuse and confound and hide things and move things around. And how important it is that we look to those people, how many of our creators, the Frank Millers and all these guys who are aging and need to be protected and not taken advantage of. It's so critical.
And it's a really complex question, because I've talked to big name comic creators who see this and other possibilities of this happening to other people. And we do talk about it. There's not a long haired guy following them, so I can't be sure, but like we talk about it and we'll say like, oh, maybe it's happening to this guy or this guy. And, we're sort of like, we're sort of paying attention. But the even more complicated question to that is, let's just say you're correct, right? I'm really good friends with Kevin Eastman, but let's just say, Kevin Eastman's old, right? And there's a guy, taking advantage of Kevin, right? The actual real hard thing is then you say, okay, and then what, right? It's like, say I go to Kevin Eastman and I go, Kevin, this guy's taking advantage of you, and Kevin believes you, right? Okay, but then what? Like, are you going to live with Kevin Eastman? Are you going to move in with him? Are you going to move him into your house? You have a wife and kids and a job and a whatever. Now, are you going to, take Kevin Eastman to the comic? Like, who then replaces the guy you're trying to, that itself becomes a whole thing. You know what I mean? And that is another layer of complication of like, so even if you can change, then what do you do after that? There's no like company you hire for that. So that again, even makes it more complicated. There can't always be a hairspray that's got the time to, and the freedom to do that. So then what happens then? And that's another thing that just, again, I wish I had a better answer, because people ask me, well, how do we stop this from happening to anyone else? And I'm like, dude, I barely have an answer for this one. I don't have, it's hard to solve, quote unquote, that problem when it's happening. You could solve it ahead of time by being prepared, but when it's happening, it's really hard to solve that issue,
Yeah. I mean, these people are, like we said, they're good at kind of getting their claws in and not letting go.
And also, for the record, it's not happening to Kevin Eastman. I just use that as an example. He's very young and with it. And just disclaimer, he's a very good friend of mine. I just thought of Kevin because he was a friend. But yes, for the record, everything is fine.
We're not blowing up. We're not starting another scandal.
I don't want in a week Kevin to go, are you okay? Kevin is fine.
I heard TMZ said it. So I mean,
yes,
exactly.
Exactly.
We're good now.
I don't need that. I don't need that to derail the next headline where I'm now saying it's like I'm just I used a young, totally sound-minded guy as an example to be safe.
Yes. I like it. Now I was reading through, and you initially had like a 3-hour cut of the movie, and I'm curious, what was the most painful, important piece of the story that you felt you had to kind of cut out of that 3-hour cut?
You know, it's really that's a great question actually, because I remember there was a point where for a week, me and the editor just I rented a house in LA. Well, it was said it was a house, but when I got there, it was a much smaller, like bungalow barracks thing with not even its own room. And I said, well, we're living together for a week. And we just stayed in this house with no AC that had to go buy an AC from Home Depot and then been in there. But we stayed in this little house for a week straight and we just edited chop, 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 and took things out and reorganized some things. And we got it down from like 3 hours to like 220 or 210, which is a lot to cut out of when you're in. And I don't remember the cuts, right? At the time, I remember being like, this is bullshit. This is all important. If you take this out, the whole thing doesn't work, because I was so overly connected to it that every moment felt precious. And then as we cut and cut, and then we rewatch it, and then I go, you know what, son of a bitch, you're right. Like that actually is all right. Like, you know, but I couldn't, the funny thing is I couldn't tell you now what those were, because it wasn't important to the story in the way that, you know, the stuff that made it in. And now I couldn't even tell you, like, I would actually, I'm trying to jog my memory to have something, and I could not tell you something that we cut out. Oh, you know what I do? You know what I will? This is because it's funny. The one thing I do remember that we cut out is that, you know, Dave Rogers is the Southern guy who worked, you know, just selling merchandise. And he's like one of my favorite people. Like, I love Dave Rogers. But there's a part where he tells a story where Max used to take his phone and try to get into it. You know, on an iPhone, if you mess up the code too much, it locks you out. And so he would say, if you don't give me your code, I'm going to just keep doing it. And you're going to like lock your phone for 24 hours. So Dave, being like this nice, soft Dave that he is, would give him the code. And then Max would send text messages of like the way Dave Rogers would say in the movie, he would go, and then he'd send these terrible pictures of medically corroded penises to my friends. Like, it was just like this, and it always got a big laugh. Like, it was a big laugh that we got. And I remember it, and I remember at the time I'm thinking to myself, because, you know, it's really heavy. Like, the movie is heavy, and at some point you want to like let people off the hook for a minute and let them like decompress. And so I was like, no, like, this joke is funny. You know, like, Dave is very, you know, charming, and you'll get a minute to like gather yourself with this, like, to just sort of like, you know, breathe for a minute. And even one of the people that helped me on the film, when he saw the screening, he goes, you cut that part out? And I go, I know, man. Like, you know, it was funny, but, you know, they were right. It just didn't, you know, work. But that was, and I get it, because I felt it not even for necessarily the content, but I just wanted people to breathe for a minute. So that was part of the restructuring, is how to not constantly make you tense. You know, like, we got to give you, that's what we talk about Joan, and that's what we talk about the history of comics. Like, we try to give you a minute to regather yourself. But that's it. I mean, everything else I couldn't even tell you. It just didn't matter. You know, like, what we ended up with was the best version of, you know, sorry that was so long-winded. I remembered it. Yeah.
That's what I love. I love those, because you're pulling from your brain, and that's the truest stuff.
Yeah, because I want to do a documentary just about Dave Rogers. He's like such a good guy, and like his lore is so deep that like I feel like people would be interested in just Dave Rogers alone. So he always sticks with me when I think about the edit.
Oh man. Well, we're gonna start winding down. I've held you long enough. Again, I told you, this thing flies by when you're having fun.
It's fine. Honestly, I like having these conversations. It gives me a chance to like kind of expand out on stuff that other stuff kind of just goes by.
Yeah.
And again, you saw the movie. I appreciate you taking the time
Absolutely.
and watching it. It's only fair that you gave an hour and 40 minutes of real tough time to me. It's the least I can do to give you, you know.
And I cried for another 3 hours after that. Yeah. So you owe me a couple hours.
Yes, I owe you. I have to come back. We'll have to do another one.
Because, and you touched on it a little bit, but I really want to hit home on this, because you were Stan's friend, as well as the film's editor. Were there moments when protecting your memory of him conflicted with telling the complete story?
No, but also I had two other editors also, just to be clear. So I was like the early on, the big picture editor. Like, I just call it like chunking, where you take scenes and you just put them in, and they don't necessarily like connect right. They just kind of linearly get you where you go. But the other two editors are like the real magicians, where they come in and they find moments to pluck or to move and whatever. And so they actually are like a sounding board. So I don't have to necessarily worry about that. Like, they will kind of do their pass and I'll look at it. But there was nothing ever like that I had felt that I had to take out, or again, I just got lucky. Like Stan's a good guy. Like there wasn't any like, thing to worry about that. And then I had all the footage to prove. So it was the actual editing part was actually overabundance, of stuff to have to cut out for time. But that was one aspect where I got really lucky, was that just Stan was who he was and there wasn't any secrets. I mean, that's why I say, like, again, it sounds like kind of egotistical, but like I firmly know that you will never get a documentary about a famous person that is as honest as this, at least that has been made, maybe in the future, but there's nothing out there. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you watch the Taylor Swift documentary on Netflix or whatever, like 400 people saw that movie before it ever saw the light of day, and they all had notes to change. And I guarantee you 90% of those notes were something incredibly stupid, like she can't be that close to a Pepsi can because then whatever. Like it like that. Like celebrity documentaries are very popular, but they're also like very like controlled and narratively very like, and so it's like you're just getting a more polished version of the Kardashian show, basically.
Yes.
Like it's not.
Yes.
This is like, because of my relationship with Stan, because of it being my footage, because of my drive to not give into that, I'm very proud that I can just go, no, this is it. Like there's no secret deal I had to make, or I don't have footage of Stan hitting a dog that I had to cut out. Like it's all there, and I don't have to worry about shielding.
It's much like Stan himself. It's you get what you get. It's at face value. Some of my favorite moments were like when he would slip in and oh shit, like
yeah. It does strike you when he cusses, when he does say something. It does catch you off guard for a second, because you don't you realize that he's a guy, regular dude talking, so that does get you. But it also immediately tells you, hey, like you're on the inside. When he drops I think he says fuck in the beginning. I can't remember, but when he drops it, or I don't give a shit or something, then you're like, oh my God, I'm on the inside. Like I'm not, this isn't a movie. This is a documentary. I'm on the inside of what's happening. I think it sends a really good subconscious message that you're getting the real deal,
That's the real Stan. Yeah. And so I kind of want to touch on this a bit, because a lot of fans, obviously, as we see in the film, especially towards the end, they are just turn and burn. They are just pushing thousands of people in front of him. And a lot of fans met Stan Lee during these final years and walked away believing they had experienced this wonderful moment with this hero that they idolize. What do you think it's important for those fans to what they should understand about what may have been happening behind the curtain, during this time?
Well, I think there's a bigger sort of macro, and then there's like a micro. I think the bigger overall picture, I think, is like, to me, like, I mean, look, who am I to judge if you want to go wait in line? And I love Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's like 80s, 90s, where I would love to get a kickboxer's poster signed by him. It would be great, right? But me personally, if I see, a 3-hour line at, $400 an autograph or Mark Hamill or something, like I'm just not doing it. Like I just, I personally don't. And I'm a guy who sells comic books and like memorabilia that's stuff that's signed by, but like, I don't get when it gets into that long, you know what I mean? Or photos, the paid photos are actually more confusing to me than the paid signatures. But I just think that people need to first, from a macro level, be careful of how much they're like idol worshiping a person. It's perfectly fine to love actors and want to meet them. I get that. But I know guys in Japan waited like 8 hours to get a photo with Johnny Depp. And at some point you have to like, you're going to get cattle card through there. It's not secret knowledge anymore. We see the photos of the celebrity really far away from the other person. And like, we know that there's a sense of like, yes, Stan would love to meet you and he would be very nice to you. And, he loved his fans, but you have to start deciding how much of your time and effort and worth are worth that wait. And what are you really getting out of it? You know what I mean? I think with Stan, you guys got lucky because he was nice, because he was, but you did get cattle card through it. And I'm sure that by the end, maybe you were like, oh, this is not worth it. Like maybe you learned, and I don't know if you still do it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, So I think from a macro level, from people, like, be a fan, like yell Stan or whatever, for the fight, and maybe he waves. You go to the panel where he answers questions, and you get to sit and relax. I just don't know if the payoff is worth the time. If you're waiting for a guy from a movie that 4 people were in, then you can wait 2 minutes, then go wait. But when you see a 6-hour Mark Hamill line with a $400 autograph request, you may want to adjust your expectation of what you're going to get out of that experience. And I think, to micro it down just to Stan, is I think if you went and you waited in that line, I mean, who am I to tell you how to spend your time? If you go wait in that line and you had a good time and you really enjoyed that time that you had with him, whether it was rushed or not, then as long as you're okay with that, for the record, I don't think any customer, any like regular fan has any sort of responsibility or blame or anything. Like, I don't want people to see that and go, well, I saw Stan and he looked kind of bad, and am I guilty for like getting a photo? Like, you would have no way of knowing. Like, that's not something that you would occur to you. It's a shock. I think if you took a photo and he said something nice to you and maybe he smiled and you liked it, great. That's cool. Like, now it's different now that you see what happened. Now you got to look at the next guy. When there's another old comic guy and you go, this looks a little rough, or like they're not letting you take pictures of him. Like then you got to start. But this one is a pass, because who would know? Who would enjoy it? But from in the future, you should start paying attention to those things. You should start
Absolutely.
paying attention to that stuff.
What do you hope that this story kind of exposes, like you were saying, about the convention industry and the way that it, monetizes access, especially to an aging celebrity, long after they should probably retire?
I mean, look, I think first and foremost, I was telling people last week after I was doing interviews, call your mom, for Christ's sakes. Like, watch this movie and then call your mom, who's a regular person, or your dad, and ask them if they're okay. Get a sense of what's going on in their life. That's, I think with fame, and that's just going to happen. Like, if there's money, then there's going to be, the grifters. That's just going to happen. So like, it is 100% happening to someone in Hollywood right now. And it's 100% happening to someone in comics. That's happening. There's just too much money in play, and who are, I know Stan, but I don't know the other, I don't know the other guys that it's happening to. So like, it's kind of like up to you and to whoever to, pay attention. And even when, like we talked about earlier, what do? All you can do is avoid it. All you can do is not contribute to it and pay attention. I don't think you're going to get hired to shoot camera on the next version of this, probably. So you just have to kind of do your best to avoid it and not, contribute to it. And there's just no really good answer. That's the thing. It's just like, it's too, just call your mom and make sure you have a good relationship with your kids, so that you don't have, that's really the real answer, is just protect yourself, and your loved ones from that.
Yeah. Be part, because if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? So don't give into that. We've talked many times, because they do a lot of nonprofit work and things like that, and we talked about wherever there's a system built to help people, welfare, workman's comp, Social Security, whatever it is, there's going to be the people that will take advantage of it. In the same way,
even retirement, even guys at 100% out in the military, and you ask them what they did, and they're like, I was a cook, in Iraq for 4 years, and someone who has real injuries like you, I think you're probably like, you motherfucker, like, that it's like,
it happens.
Some guy hit his knee in PT and now he's got a bad back, and you're just like, you motherfucker.
That's sleep apnea. It's a bitch. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, dude, sleep. That's a new one. When my dad was in the military, sleep apnea wasn't a thing yet to use.
The tinnitus. But so the same way that these conventions give an opportunity for us lowly comic book fans to meet our heroes, there are going to be those that will take advantage of that and milk it for every dollar. And so I think we take some ownership. Like you said, now that we know, we have to take ownership of that and question, how these people are being treated and whatnot. A quick side story is, as much as a Marvel, Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie. Michael J. Fox is my all-time favorite actor. One year for my birthday, my wife got me to meet Michael J. Fox at a convention, because he wasn't doing them a lot. There was a couple of years where his health wasn't great, and so he wasn't doing them a lot. And so we met, And I remember I got in line. I was so freaking excited. And they said, hey, we're so sorry. We're going to have to postpone this for a few hours so that he can rest. You know, he's not doing well.
Mm-mm.
And as much as I was like, oh my God, I'm in line. But then you think about it, you go, oh my God, they're protecting him. They're giving him the space that he can meet the fans at his ability.
Yeah.
And not just going, hey, Mike, suck it up, get out there. The people want to see you. And they paid money, so you gotta be like, no, like fucking, he's a human being who needs, you know, to be loved and cherished. And I respect that so much. So that needs to be for everybody. I got like 3 more questions just because these are so good. And you are so
it's been great. And I do like the way we're talking about right now, and that just organically came up about responsibility, where it's like when I saw what was happening to Stan and filming it, you just have to shoulder the burden of that responsibility to the truth, right? You're a slave to the truth. Like, even if I had wanted to give up, or I was running out of money, which I was, I knew I was going to just have to do it. Like, there was no, you know, because the truth is what you're responsible to. It's like the same thing with like I said, now that you've seen it, now you know. So now if you see that something else, you have to make that decision. Am I going to participate or am I not? And it's like almost like you know, you get to see the movie and then you get to carry a lifelong burden of truth after that. Like, it's the bonus we're throwing in is shouldering the responsibility.
We're trauma bonded now.
You know, so then
it
becomes a thing that the viewer has to decide. Are they going to pay attention? Are they going to participate? You know, it's part of that thing that comes with the package.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so let me ask you this. I'm more of the brighter side. I'm just, after spending so much time inside arguably what was the darkest chapter of Stan's life, what was something about the man that just made you love being around him? Because it's obvious you did, and it's so clear. So what was it about him that just you loved him so much?
I mean, I think it shifted over time. At first, it was just like he was just very like funny and, you know, like and jovial. And again, who doesn't want Stan Lee to like him? You know what I mean? That's a fun thing to be, you know. And that's like the most surface, shallow level where it's fun to do. You're in line with Stan and people see you and that's just like that surface level stuff. But then as you go on, it was, like I said, it was just the way he would disarm you, and just you'd forget where you were, what you were doing. You forget he was special because he was just talking to you like a regular guy. And so I think I've never really experienced that before, like, or since, sort of, to be like, you know, I worked in film doing movies and stuff, so I've been around other celebrities, but you always know they're celebrities, even when they're nice to you, you know, like where you stand. So, you know, I think that was probably my favorite sort of thing about it, is just that eventually, once I pushed through the surface level stuff, he was just a guy that I liked being around. When I think of him now and I miss him, I honestly never think about like all the premieres we went to, or, you know, like even now, as I think about it, as I say it, is probably the first time I thought about it in a long time, is that there was a Vanity Fair photo shoot at the Marvel Studios with all the people there, everyone. And there's a video of it, and they're all in this giant warehouse, and you see my long hair behind Jon Favreau for half a second in one of those shots. But like, I was at that, and that was like really cool, but I don't even really think about it like all that much, because it's just, by comparison to Stan, it wasn't that big a deal. You know, that's the thing I think I like the most. Fun fact on that, if you Google that, like 10th anniversary Marvel photo shoot, if you look at that YouTube video, there's a really wide shot of everyone, and in the center is Stan with Robert Downey Jr. and Max is right there. And like, it reminded me of Trump during the World Cup. He would not get off that fucking stage. If you look at it, like,
as if he had anything to do with it.
They were waiting for that shot. Like, the whole millions of dollars like are there waiting, and the camera, you know, the behind the scenes camera guys are going, and they're telling everyone to clear the stage, and the makeup people have left. And I'm like, is this guy going to try to fucking stay in this photo? Like, does he not know that they're just going to take him out if he tries to stay? And eventually he did leave, but even in the shot they used, they couldn't wait longer to get like the drone shot or whatever it was. And he's in there. And I remember in that moment being so surreal, you know, because like, I'm just way in the back, like, not, you know, with all the stylists and the, you know, the producers and stuff. And I'm just in the back, and I'm just like, this is crazy, man. They're gonna have to drag this guy off the stage. So like if you Google that on YouTube, you'll see him next to Stan, and it's like one of those I very vividly remember that.
That's wild. One of
Yeah.
my favorite things I think of the film is you two sitting in the car and just kind of bickering back and forth like an old married couple. And at one point you're like, this old codger, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I just love that you would, you'd rib him and that you'd give it to him. And
Yeah.
because I know, like, in being in the military, like that's how we show our love, right? Is we ridicule and we mock and we tease.
Yeah,
and-
well, it's like if we would always just zing each other, and we were always waiting for that next moment to sort of zing something. And when he goes, you don't appreciate me, and then I go, well, I'm just expecting the best from you, like it's sort of like, and we try to like ping pong it back to each other, sort of thing.
So, knowing him as well as you did, if he were to sit there beside you, watch the completed film, what do you honestly believe he would say to you following the film?
I mean, I think off the bat, he would immediately have like a joke. Like I'm 99% sure he would say, there was too much of you in there, not enough of me, or something like that. 100% is what he would say.
Yes.
And then he would, that's what he would say first. He'd have some sort of joke, to it. And then, I don't know. I know that he would be proud of the product, that the final product of what came out, but I couldn't tell you exactly what he would say, because when he was more serious, which was not extremely common, he was mostly jovial and joking around and kind of like keeping things light. When he'd get real serious, he'd get real like philosophical on stuff, and he'd really surprise you. Like he'd hit you with something that you were just didn't know where the conversation was going. And I remember always being surprised when he would hit a real serious sort of vein. So, I don't know, man. I could never be sure on a serious note what he'd say. Like I know he'd appreciate the effort, and I know he'd be proud of the product, but I couldn't tell you exactly what he'd say. And it's also again, it's hard for me when I think of Stan, because of our joking relationship. It feels weird to say, he would love it, and he'd tell me and pat me on the back and say, it seems like kind of presumptuous, I guess. I know it's not a great answer, but I hate to sort of live to go all the way back to the start of this conversation. I hate to put Stan in an AI box in my brain and then tell you what he would say. It feels like, it feels disingenuous to sort of puppet him in my memory, to then for the audience to like take my word for it. He would have said, you're a cool guy, Jon, and everyone should follow you on Instagram. Like it just feels weird to do that. It's sort of
And
like
he would say something about true believers and Excelsior.
Yeah.
So catchphrasey.
Exactly.
Last two questions for you. When the film ends, what is it that you want people to remember about Stan Lee that goes beyond the cameos and the catchphrases and that mythology?
I mean, I want people to remember. I mean, look, it's a funny sort of wish, in the sense of like, it's going to sound weird, but I'll follow through with it. But I kind of want people to forget that Stan was like the Marvel guy. Like I'm okay with the idea of like, I don't actually care if they put him in cameos anymore, or I don't care. Like he doesn't care either. I can tell you that. Like I'm sure it's not high on his list right now, but I almost wish that people just, he's that old guy who like made cool things, like, because I think it'll be easier to humanize that story. I think it'll make it easier to not discount the risks that run to your mom or your family, because even I see it in the comments sometimes, like, I've seen people post, as much as I try to stay away from it, I've seen a comment here or there that goes like, oh, boo hoo, a rich guy like lost his money. Like who cares? It's because you're just going to disregard the act because of who he is. And I want people to just remember him as a guy, like, and sort of forget the other parts of it. Not that you can, but that's what I really want. I want you to leave the movie and go, man, that old guy really got, the shit into the stick on that time or whatever. And I just want him to be that old guy, because he is just an old guy. He's a guy. He's not better than you. He's not better than me. The risks are the same for us as they are for him. So I would like that. I'd like him to just be a guy. And the Marvel stuff was before, the Marvel stuff was in the 60s. Now he's just a man. That's kind of what would like people, because it will help them understand better, and they'll realize the risk that they have.
Yeah. And let's close with this, but Stan spent his life telling stories about ordinary people recognizing a responsibility to act. So after everything you witnessed and everything you went through in this whole ordeal, I'm curious today, what do the words "with great power comes great responsibility" mean to you?
I mean, funny enough, they mean the same thing. They just have a lot more weight to them now. That I think, I think it's obviously 100% correct. I do think it does set, I think it sets a not unrealistic thing, but I think it sets a very high bar to what you're supposed to be responsible for. And I think not that that saying is not perfect, but I think, sometimes it's okay mentally to add a comma that goes, but sometimes it's gonna be hard. Or something, like sort of like it's not as easy as you think it's gonna be. I think it's important to you know, to at least do your best to adhere to that. You're not always gonna be able to, karate chop your way out of a mugging or something. And it's like, I think, to me, it's a lot more of like a deeper sort of thing now, to be like, the responsibility is to do your best. The responsibility is not to solve every problem that comes your way immediately. The thing is to try, to do it. The responsibility to try, I think, is the less catchy version of that. I'm sure someone pitched that to Stan in the room and they were like, "You're fired." Like, it's less epic that way. But I think it's important to try, even if you don't think you're gonna, if you don't think you could do it, you got to just hang in there. You got to do your best,
Absolutely.
to try.
Ah,
And
that's
call your
beautiful.
mom, for the love of God. Everyone,
Call
call
your
your
mom.
mom.
Call your
After
mom.
this, make sure that she's
With
all
great
right.
power comes great responsibility, and
Yeah.
call your mom.
And call your
That's-
mom.
That's
Yeah,
people forget that part. That's how it ends.
yes. That's
Uh,
actually, see, it's in there and people forget that. It's the first printing.
I tell you, where can people follow you? Where can people find you? Where can people get the movie? Promote. What do you got coming
I mean,
up, or any
so
of that stuff?
the first thing is, I don't need anyone to find me because I'm 40 and I got all the friends I need. So I don't do anything for the gram anymore. So, you could Stanley Film is the Instagram, but the more important thing is like where you can find the movie. That's the thing you should find, which is, it's on Apple, it's on Amazon, it's on YouTube, it's on Fandango, and it came out on July 28th. So it's out now. And that's the real thing, is like, check it out, leave a comment. Hopefully it's positive, just for that's all beat the algorithm of doom that we live our lives in, just and all the time. And if you have a friend that's into comics, you should let them know. Or if you know a guy who waited in a line for Stan in 2018, you, first of all, one, you may be in the background, and two, you may be like, "Oh my God, I was at that show. Is that what happened?" I mean, it's like, it's very illuminating as a comic fan who has waited in that line at some point in time, or been at that panel or whatever. So I think, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So it's out now on Apple, Amazon, all those places. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Wow. I can attest, after watching it. It's a beautiful film. It's a heartbreaking film. There's some struggle and some strife and some triumph and some. I felt all the emotions. I felt all the emotions. You played me like a
Yeah.
fiddle. God damn it! I felt all the emotions I hadn't felt in years. But
Yeah.
and I, as someone who I cover a lot of the conventions and doing interviews and things, I recognize some of the conventions. I was like, I was there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's a icky feeling to go like, this was happening just over
Mhm.
there while I
Yeah.
was just over the moon over here. So it opens your eyes quite a bit. So I really do think it's the responsibility of every Marvel fan, every Stan Lee fan, every comic book fan, every convention fan, to see this film and to understand the realities and be part of that solution, like you said. But I got to thank you so much for your time. I've kept you way past longer, but like I said,
So you were my last interview of the day. So you know what? It's cool. I don't mind it. We went out on a bang. I love these things. I told Stacey, my publicist, all the time, like, I want a long form thing. This is exactly, it's fun to get into the weeds and really dissect stuff.
absolutely, absolutely, and we look forward to the next thing that you do. whatever it is, you are now a friend of the show forever. So anytime you want to promote a comic or another film that you're working on or anything, let us know, man. We'd love to have you and do a deep dive on that thing too. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give my guest the last 5 seconds here to say goodbye to the audience and leave us with a Stanism or a quote to go out on or something. I don't know. Put a button on this thing, buddy.
I mean, you know what? Here's what I'm going to say. That is too much pressure for a non-Stan. Okay. I think I can tell you that as much as I was around Stan, I did not pick up his public speaking ability. And Stan had it easy. He would just say something like Excelsior and you guys would all laugh. Now you're leaving me hanging. And I got, you know what? I got nothing. I would just say, you know what? Call your mom. That's all I can say is in the most respectful, non-ironic way. Call your mom and make sure she's all right.
Yes. And go see Stan Lee, the last chapter. It's incredible. And thank you, Jon, for being on. And we'll toss it to a break. Bye. Hey, everybody. It's me. Yes. Take his advice. Go call your mom. God bless. That was the incredible Jon Bolerjack. I loved talking with him. I loved talking about Stan. I was very fortunate to get to meet him a few times in my life. Every time. We gushed about it, but every time he was an amazing, amazing man. And it's devastating to see how, the last few years of his life went. And at the end of the documentary, they put up a little thing and they kind of talk about, where the people that were involved, where they're at now. But one that stuck with me was like, where it was like, no money has ever been, recovered or returned to his family. I think it was like 21 or 22 million dollars from that last stretch of his life are unaccounted for. So it's just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. It's a very, very powerful film. If you're a Marvel fan, if you're a Stan Lee fan, if you're a comic book fan, it's definitely worth a watch. Definitely worth a watch, without a doubt. But there you have it. Stan Lee, the final chapter is available now. You can go find it. I want to thank Jon Bolerjack for being my guest and hanging out with us way longer than he needed to. God, he was so awesome. And then obviously Mad Mike for hanging out with us in the first hour. And for all of you at home, you right there, you watching. Thank you. This show's nothing without the people that watch it. So I thank you for watching. Stay tuned because we got a lot. We got a lot of guests coming. Let me check my calendar here and I'll give you guys a little sneakity peekity of who's coming up on Pop Culture Warrior. Next week, the 18th, we have... Ooh, yes. Charles McFall. Who is Charles McFall? He is the, he's a VP or something of Dragon Con, the big convention in Atlanta. He's one of the head marketing people. So he's going to come on and talk all about Dragon Con's 40th anniversary. And we will be there this year. So that's going to be a really fun conversation. On the 25th, we've got Daniel Futcher. He's a Los Angeles-based composer known for his handcrafted approach to making music. Interned for like Hans Zimmer and a bunch of other notables. His work's been heard on Sony Netflix's Thrash, Warner Brothers Animation, My Adventures with Superman. His work has appeared in Tribeca's film festivals. So that's going to be a great conversation for our music lovers. See, September 1, we're circling someone. We don't have them locked in. Same with 8th. I want to say I have a really good one. Oh, I can't talk about him yet. Can't talk about it yet. But there's one that I'm very excited for coming up in a few weeks. So, needless to say, if you're here, thank you for being here. But if you don't know about the other shows we put on, oh, look at that. We got a bunch of other shows. Starting with Sunday midday, The Reset with Dr. J. That's your mental health programming. Check it out, hang out, ask questions, learn a little bit something about yourself. And Mondays, you got The King of Me and the Monday edition, one following the other. King of Me, a relationship show with King Smith and his lady Michelle. Monday edition with Ice and Massey when he's not a busy touring musician, where they talk news, commentary, and discussion about all the things happening in the world. Tuesdays, right here, Pop Culture Warrior. You know it. You love it. We're here. Wednesdays, The Smoke Pit is currently on hiatus, but will be returning shortly, very soon. Very soon, we expect the return of The Smoke Pit. Also on Wednesdays, you get The Sports Bar with King and Coach, giving you all them sporty ball news. Thursdays, The Sergeant's Time with Ice and Spanky. That's all your big mill info for those that are still active and still want to know what's going on in the big mill. That's your show. Fridays, every other Fridays, FTX, Friday Night Tabletop Exercise, where we goof off and game in person. Board games, card games, dice games, press your luck games, you name it, we play it. This week, I believe we're going to be playing a game called Magical Athlete. It is raucous fun. It is complete absurdity. I cannot wait to play it with the guys. It's going to be a blast. So tune in on Friday for FTX. And then closing out the week, Saturdays, weekend co-ops, where Nemo plays cooperative games, mostly mill-style shooters like Helldivers and Aliens Fire Team and what else? And The Division, things like that. So tune in to all the shows around the station. And that's all we got for you this week. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, my guest, my co-host, and of course, WTF Nation Radio, and our sponsor, Double Time Sports Drink. Don't buy Gatorade, buy Double Time. Support a local veteran-owned business. All right, guys, it's been fun. We'll see you Friday night or next Tuesday, right here. Take it easy. Shots.
Let's see it.